Great. Welcome everybody to Omniverse. Bienvenue tout le monde à l'émission Omniverse. Today's guest is Brian Bland, who's an expert in encounters with Sasquatch here in British Columbia, Canada. And I would like to let Brian share his large bio with the audience. So please, Brian, can you share with us your bio and how you came to be part of the Sasquatch encounter here in British Columbia, Canada?
Okay, well, I think maybe I'll go back to a couple incidents when I was a kid that I feel were precursors to what happened in 2012. And isn't it funny? 2012 is such a, that seems to be a key year for so many people who have, you know, what people say awakened or, and you know, enhance their spiritual understandings or whatever. It seems to be such a big year. But anyway, I was born in Hamilton, Ontario. You know, the place where Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, you know, Gordon Lightfoot, Tragically Hip. A lot of my favorites come from there. So it's a pretty good place to have been born. But you know, when I was 12 or 13, I moved to British Columbia. I've kind of been out here ever since. But I wanted to. I guess this has got to be related because when I was about 18 or 19, I was playing in, I came back from Ontario to play rock music with my friend. Like I sing and write music. And so I came back, we were going to start you know, the next Beatles, I guess. Which, you know, whatever, you know, young men with dreams or whatever. So I came out there and I was staying in his house. And he had just like a mattress for me in the basement, right? You know, because he was kind enough to let me stay there, and his parents actually lived there too, so it was fine. And I was just one night I just went and had just laid down, and I was only been there for a couple minutes. I had just laid down. I was not asleep. I was not even near sleeping, and I saw at the foot of my bed a glimmering outline of a humanoid figure. But it kind of looked like a chalk line from a crime scene. You know, all I saw was the outline. There was there was nothing in the middle. It was just like the outline, but it was like glowing, like with fluorescent lights, kind of is what. And I, you know, this is a long time ago because I'm 65 now, so 18, 19 years is a long time, or 18 or 19. The age, that's a long time ago, but I think they were like white fluorescent lights, I believe. But anyway, it just stood there and looked at me for a matter of 4 or 5 seconds, and it didn't even bother me. I just thought, interesting. But then I looked to my left, and it was on its hands and knees right beside me, and it looked like its head was kind of cocked up looking at me, but it was weird, you know. It didn't scare me at all. And the next day I just thought, well, that was interesting. And, you know, I really think in retrospect, looking back, I don't think it scared me because I think somewhere subconsciously I knew who it was. Right. So that's the only thing I can come up with. But then, you know, I've never really been scared with any of my experiences, even with some of the early Sasquatch ones. So it's interesting that way. And I'm not particularly brave. Well, I guess I am in some ways. I'm brave in what I believe in, but yeah, I didn't have any fear, and probably because I knew them or whatever, you know, is what I'm thinking. So then a number of years later, I was married to a lady, and this is probably 2008, 9 range, somewhere around there, and we kept discovering little droplets of blood and stuff on the bed sheets. And we could never ever figure out why that was. There was never any, you know, like open cuts or nosebleeds, no, you know, explanation that we could come up with why it was. But it happened for about a year, and it was happening quite a bit, just little spots of blood on the bed sheet. And what's interesting is that after meeting my fiance in 2012, because I'm divorced from that lady I was married to at that time, you know, we talked about everything under the sun, and we had a lot in common. And she had her own Sasquatch experiences and all that, and we were kind of brought together because that's kind of what the Sasquatch do. But it was very interesting because she said it right around the same time in her life. It was happening with her and her husband at the time in their bed, and they could never account for it. So it almost makes me feel like somebody was coming in and tinkering with us. You know, I guess some people might say they were tinkering with our DNA or whatever. I don't know. You know, I don't want to speculate, but there was definitely something going on. And, you know, and then in 2012, I had 2 little Chihuahuas at the time. I've still got one now, Sparky and Lady. They're great. I love dogs. I mean, they're dogs. Dogs come ahead of people mostly for me. Not every person, not you, Sue. Not you. But, you know, I love dogs, put it that way. And I'm walking my dogs along the dikes in my hometown here. And all of a sudden, I just looked to my right up to the mountains, and something that was like now I know what it is from experience. It wasn't, I have had like mind speak, but this was more like a thought impression. A thought was placed in my head, and it was a very strong thought. I mean, there was no doubt about it. And it was funny because right away I knew there was something to this. And I looked up, and something was calling me to come up to the mountains. You go to the mountains. I knew I had to go up to the mountains, and I had never really, you know, I live close to, you know, provincial parks and, you know, unlimited woods and whatever here, but I wasn't much of a hiker or that kind of thing at the time, but now I'm in there every day, basically. And something was calling me to go there. And so shortly after that, I started, I was online, and I was always interested in Sasquatch ever since I was a kid, which is probably not a coincidence. But I saw a fellow online called Randy Brisson, who's local to me, and he's a First Nations guy, and he's got an amazing connection with Sasquatch. The experiences him and I have had, I could go on for forever about. I mean, it's just amazing. And we seem to have great connection together and experiences together. But anyway, I saw him on actually it was the Bigfoot Encounter site that the late Bobby Short had. Have you heard of that? Okay. It was a really good site with that people would talk about their experiences and whatever with Sasquatch. And it was a really, really, actually probably the best site at the time. And now that she's passed, I'm not even sure if she still has it. But anyway, I'm looking through there, and I seen this guy called Randy Brisson, and I saw him and his son had discovered juvenile tracks in the snow, and it was up in my area. And I thought, wow, I didn't know Sasquatch were right up here. You know, I thought, I didn't realize that. So I sent him a friend request on Facebook, and about 2 weeks later, he got back to me. Shortly after that, we're going out into the woods, and right from day one, we had experiences. It was amazing, right from day one. As a matter of fact, right on day one, probably 10 minutes into our hike, we're cutting through this woodsy area up to a path. And once we hit the path, he said, "You see that on the ground?" And I looked below me, and I saw these little peel sticks that looked like they formed some kind of design or something. And he said, "You know, the Sasquatch make them, don't you?" And ever since then, for about 3 or 4 years, I never ever took my face off the forest path. It was just like I was fascinated and obsessed with them. And there's a reason for that, because they've had me working with glyphs, and a lot of other people have been introduced to them through glyphs. So that happened. And then, you know, and then I just got continually connected with people. Like, they connect people is what they do. They bring the right people into your life. And I got connected with all kinds of people, including my girlfriend, who had her, you know, has her own connection with them and whatever. So it's really amazing how that works. You know, many a time I've had a feeling to go out to the woods for some reason or whatever, and I get out there and there's somebody there, and I start talking to them, and they're open to it. You know, they're open to it, and then that's an opportunity for them. And as I'm talking to them, it actually just happened twice in the last week with two different people. But as I'm talking to them, I'm getting this buzzing energy, like this confirmation energy that they are really happy that I'm talking to them. So it's a beautiful connected thing, how they do that, and it's remarkable.
Well, it's like you said before, I think we use the word in the modern era, telepathy or telepathy, but I think in the previous generation, I think, or the native, we call this mind speak. The same term we use, mind speak or telepathy. So basically what you're saying is you have an energetic impression that's surrounding your aura, and that's how you feel this intuitive knowingness that something is trying to get your attention.
Well, they'll put a thought in my head. There's different ways. I have had mind speak too. I've actually had a direct like voice that's not mine. I've had the classic definition of mind speak on a number of occasions, but generally it's like, how it works is like I'll have an impression like, geez, I wonder if it works like this. Like I'll be thinking about a cliff or something or whatever, and then right there at my feet or right before my eyes is the answer. And I'm sure that they put the thought in my head and then give me the answer. So it's, yeah, place thoughts in your head is how I describe it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost like a knowingness. You know that someone is making a link with you, sense of a better word, right? Some people can see visual, some people can have a feeling aspect of that communication. And so you have both the thoughts, the voice, and the feeling. Is that correct? When you go out in the woods?
Well, yeah, I have had both. Usually they're separate. But I can also, you know, like their energy, like they've enhanced my ability to read people's energy. I can even tell 3 or 4 different Sasquatches what their energy is just by the feel of it. Like the females feel a little different than Arrie, my clan leader. And then I met another big male in another area, and he had a different energy. They're all like, it's all like you can feel their personality and who they are through their energy. And, you know, I mean, they've got me thinking that, you know, energy, not thinking, I mean, they've shown me that energy is like the universal language to me, because in my opinion, you know, you can twist words around, or you can lie with your words or what you say, but you cannot lie with energy if you know how to read it. So, and I mean, you know, that's how animals communicate and whatever too, I think, in many ways. You know, that's how they can, like a dog can look at you and, or a couple of people, and one person will growl at the other person they really love, and because they're understanding the energy, right? So I do think that energy is a universal language, and that's one of the things that they taught me for sure. And I truly believe.
And so you're basically you came into this work as an innocent 3D individual that was doing his daily life, and all of a sudden just came to you. Is it something you think you had in your previous life incarnation, that you had contact with Sasquatch, or you were perhaps a Sasquatch, and now this time around in this incarnation you have a better or a natural homing signal with a specific clan, a specific part of where you live? Is that something you think that may actually be an incarnational link?
Yeah, I very much think that. Yeah, there is family connection somewhere. They've even shown me with cliffs that were connected and that were family. Yeah, I do believe that. And you know, they've also shown me that there is no such thing as time. I've had so many experiences with time loss and things where See, that's how I think that somehow that they can put a thought in your head and then the answer's there, because they don't seem to have, I think time, our definition, our linear understanding of time, I think is a 3D concept. I don't think they have those parameters. I think that they can set up something like a breadcrumb trail in your path, or even something in the past, and have you walk into them and discover them, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure of that. I mean, because it's just happened so many times.
And so since your experiences, have you had these other messages that they wanted you to have to share with humanity in the years that you had contact with them? Like, did you feel like there's an urgency for them to let you know, to let you know, humanity, that it's important that we need to get together once again? Have you had those type of messages? Or,
Well, I've had, well, I can tell you probably the most, one of the most dramatic messages I had. And their message basically is that we're all one and all connected, and that, you know, and they vibrate on a higher energy than we do. Their energy is an energy of no judgment. And that is what they're trying to teach me and other people, I think, because that's, you know, I think that the conscious shift, or whatever we're talking about, everyone's talking about, like the new world, the conscious shift, I think it is really just that's what it is, myself. It's an energy of no judgment, because when you feel that energy of no judgment, you know we're all one and all connected. You cannot have the lower vibrational things that we have, like, you know, you cannot be prejudiced, you can't hate, you can't judge. You just feel a beautiful love of everything, and you just feel connected to everything. So, did you want to hear how the dramatic example of that, how they brought me to that understanding?
yes, please. I mean, anything that's yeah, it'd be a wonderful way to share with the audience how you had your direct experience with them. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a couple parts of this. I was connected to a female Sasquatch. She was my first known connection, and her name is Rajase, and her glyph is actually like an H. So, you know, she would connect with me through energy, she would connect with me through the glyphs and stuff of that nature, and kind of, you know, they're teachers, they're guides, and they're teachers. So on one particular day, I was walking with a couple other guys, Randy Brisson, I like to call him my mentor or friend or whatever, and First Nations guy I mentioned, and another fellow, and we're walking along the path, and all of a sudden I smelt this incredibly strong floral perfume. It was really, really pleasant, and it smelled like a flower, and it was so strong that it burnt my nose and my throat, and my eyes were even watering. It was that strong. Like, wow. You know, because they do have a scent that they can give off, but it's not always that skunky kind of unpleasant smell that some people talk about. The females quite often have a very nice one. So in any event, my eyes were watering, my throat was burning. It was incredibly strong, and I talked to Randy about it, and he just gave me a smile and said it was a very good thing, right? And so a couple of weeks later, I'm returning to my car from a hike, and I just felt something over to my right. I heard a shuffle in the brush. All of a sudden, I got like hit up with what I describe as the love zap. And it was instantaneous. I felt it hit me, and it was like an instantaneous knowing. It was like a universal knowing. It was a strong knowing that we were all one, all connected. But there was a huge download of information with it. But not only was there a huge download of information, I felt that connection. I felt that oneness. And I just knew, I said, this is from the universal source. This is what it's all about. I just knew it. This is where we have to get to as a people. And it was an amazing knowing and feeling. Like I just knew, like I said, I could not have prejudices against anything. I could not, you know, I couldn't hate anything. It was just, it was so pure and it felt like from the universal source. And I was actually weeping. It was so, I was weeping for about half an hour afterwards, like, oh my, oh my. I mean, tears were flowing down my face. It was so powerful. And that has stuck with me ever since. Now, I can't say I'm always on that vibration, you know, because it's not like a magic pill, but I'm getting, you know, I'm getting more and more and more where I'm more on that vibration all the time. But it's, you know, they taught me that we're all one and all connected. And that's what they want to teach all of us. And if we all get that, all this pettiness, all these wars, all this hatred, all these boxes that we put up to separate ourselves, they're all going to dissolve. They can't exist in that state. That's what the conscious shift, I think, really is for me. I think it's you know, residing on a higher vibration of no judgment. So I hope I described that well. It was unbelievably profound, and probably the framework of like everything that I do now or whatever is based on that, because it's nothing more important than that.
Well, especially with what's going on the planet right now, I think humanity in the modern era is a lot of focus on the main educational, intellectual work, which has its place, of course. But I think we're losing more and more the connection with the heart. So I think, if I understand correct, the love zap, the way you called it, it's basically an experience that you had a connection with your heart space, right?
Yeah.
So it's your heart space with that of the Sasquatch. So it's like instant communication, right? Like superluminal, instant communication from heart to heart, which is a universal method of communication, right? Which I think we, humanity, have cut this off and just went pure intellect and forgot the heart aspect, the connection, right? So would you say that that's what you've experienced?
Absolutely. It was absolutely profound. It was, you know, it was more than a feeling. It was like a very, very powerful. It was just, you know, when people say I had a feeling or whatever, no, it was way more than that. It was profound. Yeah. And yeah, living in the heart space. Right. Exactly.
So when you say well, it's like a knowing, it's like, it's hard to describe, right? Because we don't seem to have words to describe the invisible realm, or the realm of the heart, because it's a feel, it's a knowing, right? And I think that's the best way we can describe, right? Feeling and knowing that we've been communicated about something that's very intelligent, that's very wise, that's very it's been around for a long time, and so that's basically what you've experienced in that love zap, that specific moment in time and space where time and space didn't exist anymore. In that bubble of love zap, or unconditional love, or universal love, or Christ love, or Buddha love, whatever you want to call it, it's you become in touch with creation, right? So that's probably what they try to teach us, is how to come back to that space once again and feel part of creation. Instead of thinking about creation, you feel creation.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful way to saying it. You feel it. Yes, you feel creation. Yes. Yeah. I like that.
And when you go in the woods, that's probably what they try to teach us, is we take a lot of pictures, we do a lot of documentaries, but we don't feel the trees. We don't maybe hug or spend time with the trees and the forests and you know, and the creatures, the fairies and other creatures, you know, that are in the forests. And do you get a sense that this is what they try to, it's almost like they want humanity to come back to the forest and live the big cities and all the concrete jungles, and come to more the organic jungle, because the organic jungle is what creation is all about. It's living, it's organic, it's breeding, it's and they want us organic beings to get in touch with the organic world.
Absolutely.
Can you share more of your experiences about that? The feeling yourself being a city person and then going to the woods. What do you feel the difference between the concrete jungle and the organic jungle? And can you share about us your experience in those two different realms?
You mean like being in the city or as opposed to being in the woods? Well, I mean, there's just a real peace and it's just a beautiful, it just feels like home in the woods, you know, like it's just feels more connected in the woods. You just feel like it's just a different feeling. Yeah, I guess it's basically just that. It's as simple as that. It's
So you're saying basically, I think you said the word keyword home. Home, that it's home, be part of creation, right? Instead of being like disconnected from the organic world, which, I mean, the concrete jungle tends to feel this sense of coldness, right? Because the concrete is not living. Even though it's part of creation, it doesn't have that pulse, that organic pulse that a tree has. Or
well, I think you know, we don't examine like the more or whatever when we're in the city, whatever. We're too wrapped up in our you know, everyday lives and whatever. But you go out into the woods and you can actually breathe and you can actually feel the love, the connection you can feel. It just educates you out there, gives you a better understanding, you know, a deeper understanding.
So basically, instead of having you explain intellectually, you probably would invite people into the woods and have them experience what you have experienced, so they would understand what it means to feel and to be heart-based. Because you can put as many words as you want, but if you don't have that experience, it's just it's hard for people to grasp and understand. So would you encourage people to go into the woods themselves and to get that you know, that heart space cultivated by spending more time?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think even people who are not aware of anything like of this nature, just going out into the woods, they know there's something that makes them feel good, you know, out in nature or whatever. I mean, and they don't know why maybe, but I think that's pretty common even on the most rudimentary level, right? So of course it's good. Of course it's good. You know, some people would say just recharge your batteries or whatever. I mean, whatever feeling you get out of it, it's certainly beneficial for you.
Just out of curiosity, a lot of people that had Sasquatch experiences once in a while would also have these ET contact, maybe not directly, but indirectly via Sasquatch mind speak. They would share about these things. Or and have you had that experience? Maybe one of the clan leaders called Arrie, which you're most familiar with, or can you share with us before your experience with one of the clan leaders here that are close to you called Arrie,
Right.
and how you came to get to know Arrie, and share a little bit more about your experience with Arrie before we get into the ET contact and Sasquatch.
Well, Randy Brisson, right off the bat, first few days we went out, he was saying there's a big white guy that'll come down from the mountains or whatever. I didn't know that was Arrie at the time, but that's Arrie's. Arrie is Raj's father. So he started connecting with me more. Raj had to go into the. She's actually come forth a little bit again now, but she actually had started a family, I guess, so she had to kind of back off a little bit. And then Arrie came in, and his energy was so strong. Like I was used to dealing with hers, so I when I first felt his, I said, "Back off, dude," you know, like because it was just like really strong. And then he did actually back right off. He kind of adjusted it, so he, you know, yeah, he's just an amazing teacher. You know, I think he's probably what people would call an ancient one. I mean, he's just way too powerful not to be. And I mean, he showed up. He's appeared in my room out of thin air. I've seen him actually visualize. Or I've seen him. What I was doing is I was just laying in bed, and laying in bed again, right? And a big white puff of smoke appeared in my room. A big misty, whispery kind of smoke. And there was some clarity started to develop within the smoke. And then I seen Arrie, and he was just standing there, and he was life-size. He was absolutely huge. His head was probably 3 times as, 4 or 5 times as big as mine, maybe. And he just stood there watching me, and then just dissipated. And once again, I was not scared at all for some reason. But do you want me to tell you the first time I actually seen him?
Actually, yeah. Well, it's interesting. If in that just 1 or 2 minute description, I mean, you said a lot that most people would not maybe understand the mechanics of interdimensional or portals, that these Sasquatch are able to create portals and go from their reality to another reality. It's almost like a teleportation device. They can use their mind and teleport via orb form from one space to another, like basically by location. So what you've witnessed, having that puff of cloud, it's very fascinating. And for most people, will almost seem like magic. But it's just a way for them to almost maybe to open a portal and slip from their location into your location. So it's very interesting that you had that experience. Is that something you always have with them, or is just you have different ways of having them appearing to you? Because according to other researchers, sometimes they open portals of light and they step in from whatever their location they are into our reality here. So it's very interesting that you describe as the puff of smoke.
Yeah.
So is it always the same type of portal opening that Arrie uses to come and see you, or there's other instances where there's a portal of light that you see that flashes on and off in the woods or in your location?
There's been many different ways that I've seen them. But I mean, to me, they're just a thought away from anywhere they want to go. They just visualize it and they're there. I mean, because they've left me glyphs. Because they leave glyphs. Glyphs have messages for me. Personal messages. And by the way, glyphs, if they're connecting with you with glyphs, they're going to be personal to you. I don't believe there is any across the board meaning for them. So, people ask me about, is there an alphabet or what do they mean or whatever I'm saying, and I just have to say, well, you have to find out what it means because I can't tell you. But so, what was your question again? I'm sorry, I got.
It's just when you described your first meeting with Arrie,
yeah,
and the way he appeared in your local time-space location, right. You said that it was like a puff of smoke.
Right.
And something it's other Sasquatch experiencers had different ways that it would appear with, like they would see like a tunnel of light in the woods. Basically, you would see a light appearing in the woods and flash on and off. So basically, they open a portal. So my question to you is that the puff of smoke, is it one of many experiences you had for them that would manifest themselves to you, or would they also use it? Light, this portal of light opening in and out. So basically, I'm trying to ask you, is it only the puff of smoke for them,
no.
Or can you share other experiences how they would have appeared to you with the audience, so they would understand it's not just the puff of smoke, or there's other ways for them to appear. So if you can share with us the other experiences that you had.
Okay, well, I can give you 2. I'll tell you a couple of really great stories, amazing stories that will illustrate that or speak of that. So Randy Brisson and I were at a place, one of our favorite places, by a really, you walk out from the woods, from the trail, and it opens up into a great big mountain scene, and it's just like, it's just like, when you talk about people getting into the woods and feeling and how important it is, I mean, when people walk out into something like that, it just lifts you up, right? So it was just a beautiful place, and it's anyway. So we're hanging around there, and we saw the most incredible 3D glyph that was put in the sand, and it was. I wish I could show you that. Maybe it'll be one of the ones you're gonna pick out. I'm hoping. But anyway,
is it the one with a circle on the beach?
No.
Okay.
That's a cool one. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
well, we'll show this later on, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah. No, this one is like it was a 3D A stuck in the sand, like peeled sticks, but they were fairly big sticks too, and it had an A, had the A thing, and it had an axe woven into it. So for me, A means the clan of Arrie. Sometimes they will greet you. Other ones will leave a message. This and this message from the clan of Arrie, or sometimes Arrie will leave it. But anyway, it had the A in it, and it had an X woven into it, because some of them are so intricate. And like I said, it was all 3D, propped up on the sand, just gorgeous. Probably top 10 glyphs of all time for me, or any I've ever seen. And it also had another A and an X woven into it, like little ones. So it was like a double one. It was just like, oh my God, just absolutely beautiful. So Randy and I are looking at it, and then all of a sudden, we got a feeling. We looked over to our left, and there was Arrie standing in the woods. But he was like, I think they can appear in many different forms or transitional forms. The form I saw him in here was, he was solid. I could see his bulk, and I could see, I could see him clearly. But he seemed to be completely black, as if he was just one stage away from fully materialized, but still I could see his bulk like I could see with you, whatever. You could see him, like, obviously. It was not, it wasn't one of those pictures that people say, and can you see a Sasquatch in this way? It was nothing like that. He was very, very clear. He was as clear as a bell. He was pretty well fully materialized, and he was just standing there watching us, and he was probably about 12 feet tall, or 13 feet tall even, and huge. I mean, like as broad as a Volkswagen bus. He seemed like he's a huge dude, and he just stood there watching us for a second, and as soon as he noticed that we saw him, he just went from left to right, and it was almost like he was on a escalator. I mean, an escalator goes up, the one that's just flat. What do you call those? You know what I mean? He didn't have any head bob. He didn't even look like he was walking. It was just like, but we saw him for like quite a long time, and then he just dissipated. He just disappeared. And obviously he wanted us to see him. And he also put the thought in our heads, both of us, because we both looked at the identical time, and there he was. So we looked, he sees we see him. There he went. So that was absolutely amazing. And so, but I remember at the time, like, I had so many lessons and so many heart lessons and so much teaching from them at that time. Like, that was the first time I had an actual visual. I think I've seen them 7 times, all told. But that was the first time I actually saw them in the physical, or as close to the physical as you can get. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, he was fully, like I said, you could see his bulk and everything, and how big he was. He was not like transparent or anything like that. I saw him, but he was maybe one step away from being completely, I don't know, you know what I mean. But yeah, and then he.
So basically, Brian, he was in a state of, it's almost like ghost-like, would you say? Almost like fully materialized, right? But not fully materialized. So like between whatever realm he was and the material world, like, would you say it's in between both realms, where he was just fluctuating or vibrating, or to a point where he could have like all of a sudden just disappeared very quickly because he wasn't fully materialized. It was almost like a ghost-like, would you say, apparition, or?
Way more clear than an apparition. Like I said, I could see the bulk and the size of them and everything. Way more clear than an apparition. It's really hard to describe unless you see it. I'd almost, for the sake of not confusing people, I would almost say that try to visualize that I've seen him fully materialized, because in essence it was. Okay, he was way more than a ghost. So, and then when I did see him, I thought, wow, this is amazing. But it was, everybody wants to see them, I want to see him, but when I saw him, it was just like the cherry on top. It wasn't the end all or the most important thing. All the lessons, leading up to that in the teachings and whatever, that thought came to me immediately, like that's more important than seeing him. But it was beautiful to see him, absolutely beautiful. So.
And Brian, did he? Was that when you describe him? I'm just going to share with you a picture of Todd Standing in Alberta, who has experience with Sasquatch. Are you familiar with the gentleman?
I've heard the name, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Apparently he took a picture in the forest and he shows two types of Sasquatch, a typical cone head and the one that you call ancient one. So let me share the screen and tell me if this is what you've actually, let me see here. Yeah, I'll show you my computer screen. I'm going to put up a picture here. I'll bring that up here. And let me know if this is, so right here. So we say the ancient one, are you referring to this one here, who has no facial hair?
He didn't look like that to me.
Like that, or we see more like the typical like cone head, facial hair like we have down here?
Actually, none of them kind of look exactly like what I saw, to tell you the truth.
Okay, okay. So it was almost like in between of them, something like that, something in between.
If I had to say he looked like one more than the other, I would maybe say, I don't know, maybe the one on the bottom left.
Oh, so the one that's this one here, right?
Might be the closest.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. Okay, I thought it was very interesting. I just want to share the with the audience.
But it is like he did appear like people say his neck was right, or his head was right on his shoulders, kind of thing. He didn't appear to have much of a neck, just as everybody describes. Like, I mean, like I said, I could see him that clearly. I could see how he was built and whatever.
So because most people are not necessarily aware of the difference between like the typical Sasquatch that we're aware and the ancient one. So some people say that the ancient Sasquatch have no facial hair. They look like more like us, but the rest of the body is hairy. And the other Sasquatch, which are familiar, they're hairy like everywhere, their face and all the rest of their anatomy. But from your description, it doesn't necessarily mean that ancient one doesn't have any hair on their face, right? It's just that they're wiser in their knowledge base, would you say?
I think that yeah, around the eyes and cheeks and whatever, there is a sparsity of hair. And I think that they do look more human. Some of them do look more human than others. So I agree with that. Okay,
so yeah, because a lot of the people are not necessarily, because a lot of people throw these names like ancient one, Sasquatch, and people cannot relate. So in order for people to understand, it would be good to more or less try to describe them as having less facial hair. Basically, it will be more like, how should we say, you know the Ewoks from Star Wars, those little furry creatures that have no hair, had no facial hair? Is that something that, or would you say, can I just share the screen? I just and let you share with us if that can come close to. This is a typical scene from Star Wars. The Ewoks,
something like that.
Okay, so they're not.
Yeah, anyway.
But what I'm saying is that they're not as hairy as what you see here.
No, they've got like the one Arrie's got way less around the eyes.
Yeah. And
the cheeks and whatever. There's very, very little hair. It's not all hairy like that.
Okay. So this will be not at all. But you were talking about Arrie. So it's more like the ones that we showed you before. Less hair on the face, facial hair. So more of the. What would we say typical human face, right? Less hair than the, okay, that's great. Yeah, it's just, yeah, because it's good to show images because people, they can have a visual concept of what they may look like. So now people understand what Arrie may look like, but 12 feet tall, that must be.
Looks more human, way more human than that. But just like a great big dude, you know,
wow,
big, huge guy.
Well, how much would you say he weighs? 500, 600 pounds?
Oh, no, twice that.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
At least twice that.
Amazing. I mean, so the sheer size of that, and you just witnessed that, and your fight or flight mechanism, your reptilian brain didn't kick in when you saw that sheer fantastic presence, or
no, it was like a beautiful spiritual, it was a beautiful moment. No, because have a relationship with them. I have a trust with them. I've gone out there and slept right in that area, like all by myself, and had many experiences. So, I built up, to the fact where I've got no fear now.
Okay, so for audiences, Becky is trying to understand that this is a building process. They don't start showing themselves first, right? They start maybe showing some glyphs or throw some stones beside you or knock on the wood. They try to test your fear level, right? And so basically it's baby steps, right? Can you share with us how they started with you, the baby steps up to the point they can actually manifest themselves visually through you? Can you share with us how Arrie and his brothers brought you up to a point where they can actually manifest themselves with you?
Okay, let me briefly get onto that, and then can I actually go back to another, because that is more important or more relevant to your initial question. But I will say that initially they try to get your attention. Once they have the connection with you, they don't have to be in your face and showing themselves physically, or even throwing the little rocks on the path in front of you, or the screams or the whoops or the yells and all that stuff. That's sort of like just an introduction. Once they've introduced themselves to you and you've got that connection with them, I find that there's not as much of that goes on. It's more of just the teaching and whatever. And sometimes they do, and I actually love that kind of that early interaction, whatever. But it's not as, I think it's kind of like they have to get your attention, right? And I've got an absolutely perfect example of that. Remind me of that. Well, actually, do you want me to give you that example now? It's a perfect example of that. So I hosted a camp out last September. Hopefully it goes through this September. Hopefully everything will be okay and we can get together. But if we're not, then we'll do it next September, whatever. We're going to do it. But have you heard of the Barb and Gabby group?
No, actually.
Barb and Goldie, I guess it is now.
Yeah. Well, I'll share with the audience later on your Facebook page, so we can bring them to the awareness. This is the first annual Arrie and family camp out later on during the show. And I'll share your Facebook and where this is located so people can attend. So it's going to be a wonderful place for people to.
I mean, what they did at that camp out was it just about makes me cry just thinking about it, because they seem to give every person just what they need. I mean, Barb is just a wonderful person. I mean, she had just lost her mother, and she had just lost Gabby, who was initially it was the Barb and Gabby group. Gabby was her dog. Poor Gabby passed away, and now it's Goldie. But she was really hurting and going through a lot of pain and whatever. And Arrie, he reached out and he kind of healed her heart, and by connecting with her. And there was an owl that she called George that came and sat and was watching her for 2 or 3 hours and flew right over her head and whatever. And then because they can look through the eyes of animals, or actually they can actually shapeshift into animals too. So that was there was something very magical about that, and it really healed her heart. And he was leaving glyphs outside her tent and stuff like that. And in relation to that, there was another guy at the camp out, and he was kind of not quite at the point of understanding the magic. If it's not really magic, but they're, it's a way to describe it. Their magical properties, or how spiritual and how incredible they are in that area. And he saw the owl too. And what blew his mind is that he saw the owl fly right off the ground. He witnessed it at this time, like right when it was connecting with Barb or whatever. And then right where the owl went off the ground was Arie's glyph, AX, right there. And that changed him. He said, "Oh my God." He was like, he walked away there completely different, understanding that they are way more than, than what he thought. And, you know, and we were like talking and in circles and talking and whatever. And they would like, they'd be banging on the trees. And there was one time when a person said, I wish they'd show us something, or I wish they'd do something. And then all of a sudden, as soon as she said that, a big tree snap. And then we all saw the branch fall to the ground, right? Just as she said that. And, and just prior to that, the ravens were flying overhead, which is very interesting too, because the ravens and the Sasquatch have an amazing connection. They're ravens, I love them. When I see the ravens when I'm out in the woods, I'm just so happy and blessed, because usually the Sasquatch interaction, or they are around, and quite often they'll feel their energy too. So anyway, so we all saw this big branch fall to the ground, but when we went over there, we couldn't see the branch. There was no branch, right? So, but anyway, as far as the Arrie thing and the how they're in your face, there was a guy who came from New York, and he came with another fella who was actually part of the Barb and Gabby group a few times. He had already been there, but his friend came to support him. He thought, okay, I'll come. And I guess he was sort of open-minded, but he didn't have any expectations. I don't even know what he really believed. But they didn't have a lot of time to reach this guy. Now, remember when I said that they're in your face or whatever initially to try to introduce themselves? So they'll do what they have to do if they're interested in you. So that's incredible. So he's sitting in camp. And like I said, he had never, I don't know how much he had considered the subject before, whatever, but he came to support his friend and he was having a great time. And he's sitting in camp, and all of a sudden he saw Arrie walk right through camp, fully materialized. And he was like, 12, 13 feet tall, all white. And I wasn't there, and he was the only one who's seen him. This is the guy the guy who had the least experience of all. This is just the new guy who just came around to support, right? So Sue and I came back to the camp out. We had went somewhere, and he pulls me aside and he says, "Is there a big white guy here?" I said, "Yes." "Is he about 9 feet tall?" I said, "No, more like 12." And he said, "Yeah, that's what I meant, but I didn't want to sound ridiculous." And then he said, "Does he have a great big huge head?" Which Arrie has a massive head, like bigger than most. And I said, "Yes." And there was a reason for that, because the one that he saw walk through camp, Arrie, is the one that I know what he looks like better than any of them. So that's, so I could verify what he was saying. So that was part of it too. But, he actually saw him walk through camp because he was only here for 3 or 4 days. So Arrie had to really make his point, and he had to reach out and do it fast, right? He didn't have time to be subtle with this guy. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, it's so amazing when you can share stories like this, and these individuals are witnessing all of that. I mean, the fact that you experience, it's not more reading a book, it's not watching a YouTube video, it's actually seeing the people called Sasquatch, and you have a visual input. It must change your life forever.
Oh, absolutely. Well, no, they've changed my heart. I mean, that's what they've got me doing. They've got me. I mean, I've written a book that I've just got to get off my butt, and actually, I've got all the book written. Writing for me is easy, but then when it gets to the part of actually putting it together, like organizing it with all the punctuation and all that, like all that kind of tedious stuff. I've been kind of like being lazy with that, but yeah, I do have to get back to that. And so that's why I'm kind of doing videos right now too. It's a little easier. It's like instant gratification kind of thing. But I do have to finish that book. But yeah, but they had me connecting with people through that by talking or whatever. Like I'm constantly going someplace, and there'll be somebody there that I'm supposed to meet. And I'll have a couple stories for you of that as well. But so anyway, did you want to get back to how another way that I saw them?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So my friend and a young friend of mine and myself, and this is a guy who was actually, sorry about that. Do you hear that?
It's okay, no problem. It's okay. It's organic. No worries. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, probably bothering me more than you. So there was a young fella that was actually, and this is once again, connection. They connect people. He came, he had just started, he's like a conspiracy guy, whatever, like he's right into this, the coronavirus thing and all the conspiracies and whatever behind it, which, you know, there's definitely something going on more than meets the eye. That's obvious, but he really enjoys that kind of stuff. And he had just started looking up Sasquatch and whatever, just a few days before he met me. And then he just happened to see that I was giving a little talk with a few other people at a place in my town. And he got a hold of me on Facebook and said, I want to come. I said, yeah, for sure. And I started telling him some of my stories, and he thought, I know he didn't believe them, but he was kind enough to be open-minded about it. Now he believes them because he's had his own. But, you know, so he came and met me at that thing, and I went out of my way to introduce myself, and we became friends. And you know, and now he's got his own kind of thing going on, and he's, you know, he's seen them and connected with them and had experiences. So that's how they do it, right? They're constantly connecting people. So I was out on a 3-day, I think we were 2 or 3 night hike way deep in the woods. We don't go to like the campgrounds generally. We go right out into the woods. Although in the campgrounds and places like that, I mean, yeah, the evidence of them is like unbelievable. We just go way back in there because it's just nicer, because we want to be alone, right? But we're coming back from this 2 or 3 day experience, and we had all kinds of wonderful things happen. Funny things and profound things and whatever. But we're walking back along the path, and the dirt path back to our car is probably, I don't know, 12 feet wide, something like that, a typical forest path in a park or a provincial park or something, or a state forest. Although I think that I have found that people have said that the provincial parks and up here, they're a little more, they're how am I going to say, they're more user friendly, put it that way. The paths are wider. They're just and so anyway, so we're walking back, and all of a sudden I'm just looking right ahead of me. I'm walking, so I'm looking where I'm walking, and maybe 12, maybe a dozen yards ahead of me, maybe not even that far. I'm looking at the path, and so let's, can you see my hands? So let's say that this is the path. So here, nothing. I don't see nothing at all. About 3/4 of the way across, a Sasquatch fully materialized, like fully materialized, like even in the next stage up from Arrie. I mean, I could see the hair, the color, the brown hair, the muscles. I actually just saw his back, his shoulders, his spine, but you know, I could see his muscles, but he just walked across and then walked off the trail and behind a tree and up the slope, right? But he fully materialized. And it was absolutely 0% chance that I didn't see what I saw. I saw it, it was obvious. And I said to my friend, look, see that Sasquatch? And he said, you mean that little dog? Because he saw a little dog because he was not ready to see a Sasquatch. They presented themselves to him in a different way. And the other thing is that within a few seconds, we were right at the spot where the fellow had walked up the slope. And it's kind of sparse, and you can see, you know, it's all mossy forest floor, and the trees were not all that close together. So there was no dog there. It was absolutely no chance that it was a dog. We would have seen the dog. And plus, we asked a few people later on, even though there was nobody right around us at the time. A couple, you know, 10 minutes later that we're coming up the path, have you seen a dog, blah, blah, blah. No, there was no dog. So he just presented himself to my friend as a dog because he wasn't ready to see him as a Sasquatch, and I was. So I saw him as a Sasquatch. And I've heard the exact same story from other people. You know, not exactly the same like a dog and a Sasquatch, but like where somebody has seen them in their true form, or the form they want to present themselves to you as. And other people have seen them as something totally different, just because of their stage where they were at the time. Okay, so then that was when I seen one fully materialize. So, but this is the really, really interesting thing about it, and it gets back into also the thought placement or whatever too. And this Francois, is it? It's Francois, right? I can't even tell you how many times that this thought placement is. I mean, not dozens, like hundreds of times. It's just constant out there. So anyway, you know, I said, you know, let's go to this area and just at the end, you know, we'll just end off our experience. We'll go to a place where actually, and it was the exact place we're going to be camping. I said, let's just go there and check it out for a few minutes before we leave. And it was dark out, but there was a full moon, and you know how you can kind of see. It's kind of clear when there's a full moon. You can still see stuff pretty clear, right? So anyway, we went and we're looking around this area, and as we're walking back, and it's a big wide road back to the parking lot, I got that thought in my head. I wonder if they left a glyph. Okay, that thought came into my head. I wonder if they left a glyph. And so I had a little swivel lamp on my head. You know, you know what I'm talking about. And it just happened to be, the swivel just happened to be down where it was pointing to the ground. And as soon as I said, I wonder if they left a glyph, I turned the light on, even though I don't know if I needed the light, because I said it was fairly light out, but probably, you know, it obviously would enhance whatever was behind or below me. So I turned the light on, and right below me, right at that exact moment, was a foreglyph, like a beautiful one. And that is actually Fortuna's signature. Like, they have their own signature glyphs that represent them. So as soon as I turned that swivel light on, like I said, it was pointed to the ground right below my feet, and right there, didn't walk another step. Right there was an absolutely no-brainer foreglyph. And I've got pictures and everything of it. And what that meant was that was Fortuna that was with us the whole weekend. That was him who walked across the path, and he was just letting me know that. You know, it was kind of.
It's pretty amazing. It's what's very impressive what you just described before is that when you said that they saw this Sasquatch manifest themselves, it's almost like I'd like to share your picture. I'd like to ask you if this is more or less what they may actually, when you say they manifest, it would be like almost like a Star Trek type of teleportation where they would actually materialize in the physical realm, almost like a light manifest in this reality, like we see in a Star Trek a teleportation room right now. Is it something like that when you say they actually manifest themselves? Do you see that glimmering light in the background or within themselves in this picture like that, or something totally different?
No, he just seemed to not be there, and then he was just there.
Wow.
So it's like it nothing, and then he was just fully materialized. I didn't see anything like that, although my girlfriend Sue has seen them, looked over to her at one time, and she saw something like moving like really fast, like a shape, but there was like a trail of, it looked like there was a trail of that shape behind it. I don't know how I'm not describing it well, but she saw an energy trail of whatever that being was. Here's the being, and then there was like a energy trail of it. Right?
It's almost like an echo energy trail. As it moves, the echo just follows that. It leaves an impression in the field, right? It's just as it walks through, it's almost like it's fascinating. It's almost maybe like this, but instead of standing, it's moving, right? You understand what I'm saying? It's like this echoing of the frequency that manifests or disappears in this reality is just amazing. So when you say they manifest themselves, from your experience, it's like a switch. It's on and off. They appear, disappear. They don't have that light, streaking light that come and disappear.
Not that I saw. It was like nothing and then fully materialized.
Okay, so it's basically like a switch on and off, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Hey, we're Spock in them. That's the wrong Star Trek guys.
Yeah.
I'm a
But
jerk and spot guy myself.
yeah, but I like to use images in my presentation because, you know, we're very visual beings, and sometimes when you explain too much, I think the visual will bring 1,000 words to someone's understanding. And I like to use images in my shows because, you know what, we tend to talk a lot, but in reality, we're telepathic beings. We use images, we use feeling. So I'm trying to have you share to your feeling, your experiences, so we can feel what you experience. And I like to use, I like to include images also, so the audience can actually feel the interviewer's experience, and they can see the images assisting them to imagine what you have experienced in your own reality. So I like to combine both of them. So I think it's beautiful, the interviewer's experience. And I know it's not, the images are not perfect, but it's a way for us, it's a starting point to try to explain to people what you've seen yourself, you know. So when they go out there and experience, oh, that's what Brian said. Oh, I understand what Brian meant because now I saw it for myself. So it's beautiful, you know, that we have technology like Zoom, so we humans can share this information now and start to educate the public, right?
Yeah, well, there's so many different ways that you can see them, and also, but like I said, with this one, it's not a whole lot of description needed. Just try to visualize nothing, and then he's there, like instantaneously.
And you said the word, it almost seemed like magic. Now, this is very important. I think that's a key word that even Dr. Greer talks about, that from our perspective, what these ETs with thousands of millions of years of evolution, or Sasquatch, what they would do in our space would seem to be magic. And it's a famous, what's interesting is that this quote by Arthur C. Clarke, I think is very poignant to what you describe here. I'll share this with the audience, is that what Arthur C. Clarke says is that any sufficient advanced technologies is in this industry.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, for magic. So, but I like to add that we talk about when you talk about the organic world, we're talking about organic technology. Okay, this is what the Sasquatch are trying to. My feeling is trying to assist humanity to remember that we have the same abilities as they have, but we have to nurture our own inner circuits. Just like computer circuits, we have these organic circuits, but instead of surfing the net with your computer, perhaps we should serve our own organic internet with that of the forest, right? So I think the Sasquatch are really trying to teach us that if you come into your heart space, what would seem to be magic is no longer magic. Like you said, for you, it's no more of a surprise, but not because you've seen them, you've experienced them. So what for other people for be magic, for you is like, oh, it's normal, right?
Well, I've seen so much magic that it is almost, I mean, it's just who they are now. I mean, but it's, well, I'm getting the energy right now.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that you know that's not magic. You know, it's quantum physics that the Sasquatch are trying to share to humanity. And but it seems even the extraterrestrial are saying, the benevolent extraterrestrial are saying the same thing. You need to come into your heart space. So we have the benevolent ETs that are saying that, and we have the Sasquatch are saying that to humanity. You need to come to your heart space. So go from here back into here, because it seems like what is magic? This is the magic space here, the heart space. So that connects us to creation, right? Like you said, you feel creation. There's no more like thinking about it or describing it. That's too long. How about we just feel creation, right? Like you said, you feel that communication, you feel their presence, right?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I didn't, because when I got that love zap, I felt like I had all knowing, but I also felt like I didn't need to know anything. It was just, everything was there. Everything was, you know?
No, it's beautiful, and this is why it's important that people hear stories like yourself, or hear an experiencer like yourself, or you may consider yourself a contactee with Sasquatch also, that anybody can do this if they're in the right mind space and the heart space, right? So can you share with the audience here, what are the key ingredients, would you say, for someone who are sincerely wanting to have that heartfelt willingness to have open contact with Sasquatch? What are the baby steps, or what are the criteria that you like to share with us in order to have a wonderful experience with a Sasquatch?
Just an openness, and try to be in your heart, yeah, instead of your head. And but initially, they want to, like any other relationship, you know, like they want you to be respected. Go in there and respect them. Be open to them. Say, hey, I know you're out there. I would love to meet you. Just feel it in your heart. Just, you know, go out there and sit. Spend some time. Take a drum. Sing some music. You know.
It's funny. It's funny because when you said it, I almost cried, because this is what we as humans want. We want this heart-to-heart relationship with humans as a planetary race, which we're not at this moment. We're fighting with each other for natural resources, for technology, for food, for all this nonsense that have, you know, and it's really breaking our heart. And when you say that beautiful heart-space connection with Sasquatch, it brings me to tears, because this is who we are. We are angelic beings, yeah. and it can be like a different type of beings. It can be star beings. It can be Sasquatch people. We're all people, and it can be insect or trees, and we're all a big family, you know. So what are we fighting with each other? Why can't we just come to a common ground and say, hey, you know, I'm a Sasquatch people. You're a star being people. I'm a human. Let us sit down around a campfire. Let us talk. Let's come together as cosmic beings, brothers and sisters, and create magic, and create wonderful projects. So we all can learn, and Sasquatch can teach us about telepathy, about crystal healing, about teleportation, telekinesis, and they can become our mentors and teach us once again what we've forgotten all these millennia ago, right? So yeah. It's beautiful.
Like I said, that's the work they've got me doing, because that conscious shift, that next step in human evolution, oh boy, I'm getting energy. Are you feeling any energy? Do you?
Well, me, it's emotional based. Okay. I can feel the emotion. The one thing for us to come together and stop competing and stop fighting and stop. Look, I have a bigger house, I have a bigger car. It's not who we are. It's nothing wrong having things. Nothing wrong having a cell phone, a computer, or shoes. Or it's okay. Just get the items that you need. But we should make a commitment to come back together and spend time with each other in nature, and you know, having this beautiful circles in the wood, you know, and sit down with nature and the Sasquatch and star beings and whoever wants to come, fairies and whatever, you know, and let's dialogue. Let's once again come, you know. It's nice to hear your stories when you see them manifest. It's not something, it's fictional. It's you saw them with your own eyes. I mean, how beautiful is that? It's beautiful.
Well, the energy is even more real than the visual, you know. That's, like I said, language, words, they're not as real as the energy. That's the true thing. But that is why so many of the star nations and the Sasquatch are here, because that's our next evolutionary step. Because trust me, when you're in that energy, when you feel that energy of no judgment or whatever, that is what the new earth, or that's how we're going to change. I don't see it as ETs or whatever flying into our rescue, or some of these other theories on how it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen with each individual. You know, has to find that for themselves. Oh, I think you lost your voice.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry, I just I put on the mute. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a picture here. So once again, so the audience can see what we actually are trying to convey here. Here's a Sasquatch with a star being here. And they've been witnessed on many occasions to be on some of these ships with star beings. And so I think there's a cooperation between the Sasquatch beings or people and the extraterrestrial beings, Star Nation, like you mentioned. But even the star beings and the Sasquatch are saying the same thing, like you just said, right? We need to come from a heart space, and we need to resolve our own problems here on Earth. They're not going to do it for us, right? Yeah. So that's a common theme we keep hearing, right? So
yeah, well, I've actually seen Sasquatch and UFOs together, so they do have a.
Oh, can you share with us?
But that is the whole key. That's what. I'll share that with you, but just want to get this point is that's why they're all contacting us. They want our next evolutionary step is that higher vibrational state of no judgment. That's when everything is going to change for us. We're not going to be, that's how it's going to happen. That's the most important thing that they can share and teach us.
It's really it's beautiful. It's I think it's what Buddha, Christ, consciousness. It's this universal cosmic understanding, right? The love is the operating system of the universe. But I think once you're in that love zone or that heart space we call love, time and space is just non-existent, and then you can teleport anywhere in the multiverse. Right? So it's just, you can simplify this, that saying that the heart space, love, is the operating system of the cosmos or the multiverse. And once you're in that no time, space, location, you can do like a Sasquatch, teleport, just imagine where you want to go, and you just teleport at any location you want. But like you said, if you're not in that heart space, it becomes too much intellectual work and not feeling. And so it's, so we have a lot to learn, and we have a lot to remember, but it's all within us, like you said, right? Like they keep teaching you that, right?
Absolutely. I've had so many powerful lessons with that. They'll guide me to go someplace for a reason, and then I'll get a powerful lesson just completely related to that.
And you mentioned that you had an experience where you saw Sasquatch.
For instance, one time
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The young fellow that I was saying, his name's actually Randy too. But my mentor, Randy Brisson, the First Nations guy, and then the other guy, the little Randy, I guess we call him, and yeah, I mean, what was I going to say now? I'm sorry. I'm feeling that energy so strong that I'm kind of.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you. You just shared a few minutes ago that you had this experience
with the UFOs.
Yeah, with the Star Bee Nation and the Sasquatch. That you actually witnessed this yourself. Yes. Can you share with the audience your experience with a Star Bee and a Sasquatch?
Okay, well, Randy Brisson and I were coming back from a long hike, and it's funny, because we went a long way this day, and it was perfectly sunny, and we didn't see another soul. And absolutely nothing happened. We weren't even feeling any energy and whatever. And, sometimes you just can't, there's no rhyme or reason with them. You just can't predict what they're going to do. There can be just the absolute ideal situation, but they don't do anything. And other times, they'll do something right when other people are there. But anyway, so we were coming back from a really long hike. And there was this place in a forest there that was also used for demonstrations or whatever, and it was like a big display area that had big huge log pillars as support, and then it had a tin roof on top, right? A big tin roof, and there was a few benches and stuff under there. I guess it was for a lumber demonstrations or whatever. And we decided, okay, well, we'll stop there for a while. So we're sitting there. This is a great story because there's so many different elements to it. So we're sitting there, and we started getting the energy, feeling the energy, and then my hearing is not all that great, but my friend could hear them walking around and stuff, or he could hear them close. And all of a sudden we had like a bang, a huge crash, like a big rock landed on the roof, like boom, you know, and you know, you had to remember there's not another soul around for anywhere around. There's no other explanation for it. So we heard this big crash on the roof, and we heard that maybe about 5 or 6 more times they did that. A big rock flying off the roof. And then they started throwing little stones at our feet and stuff. And then, this is a key point, my friend was saying that he could hear them breathing and whatever all around us. And we were both like, Randy and I were both standing side by side, face the same way. And all of a sudden we had a little rock arch right over top of our heads and land right at our feet. And the fact that, you know, and I was always thinking, why are they so accurate? Why can they throw so accurate and whatever? And, you know, I put it together because he could hear them actually walking around us or whatever. I'm sure that the Sasquatch individual was just right behind us and just went poink, you know, like just threw the rock over there, over top of us. So that was something that was a good lesson for me too. I realized, okay, well, they're right here, cloaked right beside us and doing this. That's why it seems like it's so accurate. It was just like a little doink, you know, and the rock landed at our feet. And so around that same time, we looked up in the sky and we seen a UFO right up there at the same time. And it was like a saucer kind of thing. And it went right into a cloud and never came out. And also we saw a red-tailed hawk that was watching us from a distance from a tree. And it's a very spiritual bird that has a very strong meaning to Randy Brisson, my friend. So it meant something to him, and it was watching us, and then it flew right over top of our heads and then went on another tree not too far away and was watching us again. So there was, you know, that was probably a Sasquatch, shape-shifted. There was the flying saucer there. There was the physical interaction with the rocks. They were cloaked. There was a lot of different things that they did that day. And I mean, it makes sense that the you know, initially when I got into thinking about Sasquatch or whatever, it seemed like a real, you know, this is way before 2012. It seemed like a real stretch of faith, you know, the UFOs and the Sasquatch together. To me, it just seemed like, I don't know. But now in retrospect, it doesn't, because they both have the same message. They're both talking about universal connection and trying to bring us up to that level so that we can evolve as a human race. So, and that's really true. So that that connection does not seem unusual to me at all right now.
So basically, when you say the word cloak, for people that understand it, cloak means, another word in English means invisible. So,
yeah, you can see them.
Yeah, so even though they were maybe putting a rock just above your head, but the physical appearance was invisible, even though they were around you and breathing. So it's amazing.
But you know, they can be cloaked, and you can feel. They've been cloaked, and we felt their energy all around us, like we knew they were right around us. Mm-hmm. We could feel them. They were there, mm-hmm, right around us. And not only that, sometimes they'll give you a little smell too, to really just, you know, verify that, right? That actually happened one day, and so there was a clan that we were interacting with, and it's probably the same clan but a different family. And the guy in this family, he's like a huge red guy. He's like about 15 feet tall. He's gigantic, and I think he's related. He's in Arrie's clan, but he's not in his immediate family, I don't believe. So anyway, God, I got so many. I could talk about like so many stories. I could talk. You know, I get on one subject. It goes on to so many different things or whatever. But I'll try to stick with what happened here. So we could feel them all around us, and all of a sudden, we both felt them enter. One guy enter us. We felt his energy go right inside of us, and I felt like a light switch go on when he was inside. I don't know what that's the only way I can describe it. It felt like some switch went on or whatever when he was inside checking us out or whatever, or maybe getting a really close look at our energy or reading us or whatever. But yeah, absolutely amazing.
So would you say it's almost like a scanning, a way for them to scan your body? I don't think they would necessarily enter your body because that'll be a violation. We're not asking your permission. So maybe they were just scanning you, maybe a feeling of being scanned, would you say?
I felt them inside of me.
But in the spiritual circle, my understanding is that if you want to interact with entities, in order to respect, that's the key word, each other's free will, each other's free space, we need to ask permission to go into someone's space. Have you given them permission to enter your space for them to do that? Or they know you so well that they know that it wouldn't mind to, like for me, if they've done this to me, that would be a violation of my inner space, but not asking my permission. So I'm just asking what happened.
Well, because there's such a trust between us that I don't think that, you know, they don't really need the permission like verbally or whatever. I don't think, because there's such a trust between us. I trust them. So I think that it was the second point. Yeah.
No, but the reason I bring this up is because if listeners would listen to that, right, you need to understand what you just explained. Because, you know, in the modern world, the way we understand a space relationship, right, we have to ask permission, or we have to ask, it's just a natural spiritual conduct, right? So, so the reason I asked that question is to clarify for listeners is that you had those previous experiences with them. So the trust was already built within both of you, Arrie and yourself. So for him to go inside of you, it's like you already gave them permission in the past because you always made contact with them on many occasions. Was that the first time? Right?
I would say that was true.
Okay. Okay. Great.
There was already a trust, and so
okay.
it wasn't an issue, and I didn't feel violated whatsoever.
Okay.
I never felt violated by them because there's that trust, right?
So what was the intent for them to do that with you, going inside your body? What do you think was the intent for them to do that?
Well, I mean, you know, energy and whatever is a universal language. I think he was just really having a real close look to see what we were, you know, that's what I think.
Or would you say that he would try to make you feel what it is to be alive and connected? Is that maybe a lesson for you to what it's like to be connected and alive? So he maybe try to give you that inner spark. Oh, wow, this is how it feels to be really connected. Or it's something else.
Now, to me, it just felt like he really wanted to have like a thorough look, like really check our energy out in the best way that he could, like just, you know, let's really see what they're all about. That was my impression. Okay,
so basically to have a more profound understanding of who you are as a person. Basically,
that's what I feel. And I mean, you know, as far as zapping and this energy or whatever, there's so many different ways that they've done it like this. A lot of the experiences are like totally different. It's very diverse. It's very diverse. I mean, there's been times where you know the movie The Wizard of Oz, right? Do you remember when they're running through the poppy field and trying to get to Oz, and they can hardly move, and they're like, you know, like something is holding them back or whatever? Well, we've experienced that many a time, that kind of thing. One time the energy was so strong that we were actually on our hands and knees on the forest floor. Yeah, we couldn't get up for like quite a few minutes.
So you're saying that being so overwhelming, it just, you had to lay on your knees and just try to hold yourself because it's so powerful?
Yeah, but that only happened once, that strong. But other times it's like you're walking and you're something holding you back, like you can hardly move. I've had like energy balls of energy shot at us where we could hear it and feel it, and it actually, I guess I'll tell you that story quickly because it's quite an interesting one. So we're at one of my gifting trees, or our gifting trees, and I started getting that third eye feeling that they're around. I could feel them in my third eye, like tingling or whatever, and I know they're around. Then we could hear them, and all of a sudden there was like this whoosh. We felt this big energy blast come at us, but I don't think we heard it audibly. I think we heard it in our heads. but we could feel it coming at us and we could hear it. And it came at us and it entered inside of our chest, rattled around, and then whoosh, shot right up through our heads. And we both looked at each other and said, did you feel that? So, I mean, it's so diverse, the way that they zap you or however you want to describe it.
So basically, what I seem to understand by having you shared your experiences more and more, it's almost as if they're giving you a different taste of how they can actually move energy.
I think so, yes. Good. Yeah, you're a great interviewer, man.
No, it's just because
because you're bringing up your
No, it's pretty true because I hear your words. It feels like, oh, okay, this is how maybe another way they want you to feel the energy. So it's fascinating that the level of wisdom. It's almost like all these lessons are building up more and more and more and more. It's just fascinating how they actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. It's all about It's all about teaching. Teaching is
amazing.
Absolutely. It's all about teaching it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just remember that story that I wanted to get to now, and this is also about thought placement and about their lessons and whatever. So this young fella and myself, he wanted me to go to a conference. There were actually it wasn't a conference. It was well, I guess it was. It was 4 speakers, and it was an all-day kind of thing. And I think one of the guys was one of the guys from ancient civilization. Some of these guys were pretty well-known names, but you know, it was like a 10-hour all-day thing, and it wasn't something that totally piqued my interest, and it was also quite costly. So I said to the fellow, I said, I think I'm going to politely decline. But it meant so much to him because he was so appreciative of how I connected them in, and believe me, this is all him. I'm humbled about it. I don't take any credit for it, but he felt that he wanted to show his appreciation. And I could see that. And he also offered to pay. So, which is not is not the end factor or whatever, or the big deal about it. But he so wanted me to go that he said, come on, I really want you to come and I'll pay for it. So I said, okay, because I realized how much he wanted me to go. So I did go, and it was fascinating because the very first speaker who spoke, he started talking about pi glyphs, the pi symbol. And with the Sasquatch with the glyphs or whatever, like they started off with very rudimentary ones. And as your education went along, there it is, yeah. Hey, imagine that, eh? There's one right there. So they start off with very rudimentary ones, and once they add something or you see a new nuance or something different, then they continue with that moving forward. So they get more and more complicated. It's almost like it's akin to an education. It's like you're in kindergarten, you're in grade 1, now you're in grade 2. So when you're learning like 2 by 2, 2 times 2, you don't see 3 times 3 or division or whatever. But once they introduce it, then it stays moving forward, right? You know what I'm saying, right? It's very much like an education. So in any event, I was seeing a lot of pi glyphs. And very shortly into this guy's talk, he mentioned the pi symbol and how it was a very important symbol in a lot of religious disciplines or whatever. And I'm not sure exactly the specifics, but he was talking about how it was a spiritual symbol and important to so many different religions and beliefs and whatever. And as soon as I heard that, I clicked. I said, wow, this is why I'm here, because the pi glyph had just been introduced to me just shortly before that, and I was seeing them all the time. So I knew immediately why I was there, right? It was like, wow, okay, this is why I'm here. This guy's talking about the pi glyph. And so it was amazing, when I heard that, because they had me there to hear that and to advance my education. So the very next day, I was sometimes I'm told energy-wise to go to a certain place. You just get the feeling you have to go there. And so the very next day after this conference, I went into the woods, and as soon as I got out of my car, I walked about 15 feet, and there, right below my feet, was a pie glyph with a stick man woven into it. And as soon as I seen it, man, you know, it was just like, it was like man and connected all one. It was like, it was the confirmation. They were giving me the confirmation with a glyph. Like, as soon as I got out of the car, you know, man, Sasquatch, all connected. We're connected to the universe. We're all one. It was their message in that glyph, and it was pertinent to them having me there at that conference, and it was also pertinent to what the guy was saying. So they were confirming it in a, you know, in like a no-brainer kind of way. Like, it was just so obvious. And that kind of stuff happens all the time.
That's interesting, because you mentioned that specific pie shape, and you're looking at it, it's almost like an instant download, because in that symbol there's an energetic imprint. Whoever created that symbol is embedded in that. So when you look at it, you get the download of the symbol and the energetic imprint of what it actually meant. So it's like superluminal communication. It's like you got the symbol, you got the meaning all at once. The download is just fascinating how they can imprint the glyph with the energetic signature and convey that meaning. And so we as humans, if it's just, we're able to decipher that very, very easily if we just come to the heart space. Like you said, we can know what that means, right?
It was yeah, you know what you said was absolutely perfect. If there is an energy attached to it, a message, an energetic message, and it's instantaneous in many cases. Now I got to tell you this other story, because it's so interesting in the same kind of thing. So I love that, man. You're right on the ball. What you said was perfect. Couldn't have said it more perfect myself.
Well, I think what the modern man is doing is trying to explain the organic world using synthetic technology. Now we have computers, we have to download files, we have to upload files. Well, we can use the same language, but in the organic world, right? We upload and download information, right? So it's a nice way for us to cross that information understanding to the organic world, because the true technology, or the supreme technology that Buddha or Jesus talked about, is the organic technology. We are it. It's all inside of us, right?
Yeah.
So and the Sasquatch are trying to remind us how magnificent we are, right? It's just beautiful that we have forest people that actually try to encourage us to remember how magnificent we are, and it's beautiful.
They are so supportive and loving. I mean, I've even been rescued by them in the woods. They when my mother died, they left glyphs up by my car that very day, like, and for a couple days, just for support. I mean, they're just the most beautiful, loving. I mean, I can't even describe how loving and spiritual they are, right? So as far as that instant knowing and the energy in a glyph, so I decided I'm going to, well, actually I was on the talk show and somebody suggested, why don't you leave your own signature glyph? Because they all have their own signatures, and see what happens. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to do that. So they started changing them around and fooling around with them, and they were doing all kinds of stuff with it. And they would even leave my own glyph themselves for me sometimes. But one day I was walking in the woods, and I came upon a glyph, and instant knowing, like you say. And it had my signature B in there. It had Arrie's A, it had H, it had the 4, it had all woven together. And it had a roof of protection over it. And it was an intricate, beautiful glyph. And I knew immediately what it meant. And what it meant is that your family, you're connected to us. We're protecting you. We're watching out for you. We love you. It's just like, you know, like kind of stuff that makes you cry right on. Like some of the things are so profound and beautiful personally, and on a not personal, you know, on a bigger scale, but personally too. And I knew immediately what that glyph meant, and it was just absolutely a beautiful moment. So, you know, my thing is to share everything with people, not to look at me kind of thing, because I want to share, because I want people to get it. I want people to get, I want people to get their message so that we can actually evolve. So that's the only reason why I do it. And so every picture that I take, I was putting on Facebook or sharing right away. You know, it's just for that specific purpose. So I ran home and I must have taken 160 pictures that day. And those days I was just taking pictures left, right, and center, right? And I got home and I downloaded all the pictures onto Facebook. And there was a friend of mine who was keeping track of some of my glyphs and whatever, and he would put them in his hard drive, and it was very interested in them too. And my girlfriend was online at the same time. So the three of us are discussing this glyph, and I was so excited. I'm telling them what it meant, and I showed it to them. And my friend had already put it on his hard drive. I had put it in Sue's chat box, you know, on the Facebook chat box. So I posted it on there where she could see it. And we're talking about it. And a few minutes goes by, and then all of a sudden I couldn't see that picture on Facebook anymore. Okay. Now, like I said, I took about 160 pictures. I don't know specifically. So for the sake of argument, I'll say 160. So 159 of those pictures were on Facebook still, but that one picture was removed, okay? It was gone. My friend's hard drive, it was gone off his hard drive. It was gone off the chat box in my girlfriend's chat box. And I looked at my physical camera. Every other picture was on there. It was removed from there. So thought about it, and it came to me that, you know, they were teaching me about their abilities and what they can do, but they were also letting me know that that was for you. That was just for you. And I don't think they really cared if I shared it, but it was a message, you know, like that was for you, and it doesn't have to be shared. And they've done that a few times, but not very often, 3 or 4 times, but you know, that just shows you their abilities, right? Like,
well, that's again, it's very impressive, because that shows us that the organic technology supersedes the synthetic technology.
Yeah.
So people are afraid of AI, all this cybernetic, robotic. Yeah, it's not something we want as a humanity, but something we need to understand is that instead of focusing on AI and cybernetics, why don't we focus on our own organic technologies right within us, so we can create the miracle and that we want on this planet. So we should start communing with ourselves inside our heart, like you said, and come together, right, as a planetary race, and with the elementals, with the forest people, and create the reality that we want, just like Star Wars in the Empire Strikes Back, with the Ewok in the forest, the little creatures from Star Wars, right? And that's just co-create the reality that we want. It's beautiful to see that. So I think, like you said, the education that they're sharing with you is something that they want to share with humanity to assist us to remember who we really are as organic spiritual beings.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's the whole thing. That's the whole key to it. Because if we're going to have that conscious shift, or we're going to take that next evolutionary step, that's what it is. It's that unconditional energy, or whatever. I mean, you know, there's.
But like you said, we have to actually heal ourselves first, like in this picture. Sasquatch is trying to tell us right now.
I've seen that one. Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, but if you're traumatized,
nothing else is as important as that.
Well, I mean,
that's the whole.
Well, exactly. Well, it's like I think it's a German psychotherapist who last year or 2 years ago finally acknowledged that for the past 30 years that he worked on himself, he realized that even after 30 years, he's still traumatized. So he said to himself is that we need to come to a space of acknowledgement that we are traumatized as modern humans. Once we understand that, we can take the initial step to start healing ourselves, right? But if you think that you're not traumatized, or you have no inner trauma of generational trauma, or family trauma, or school trauma, or work-related trauma, and you think that everything is fine. Well, it's not fine, because the outside hologram is a reflection of our own inner hologram. So the reality that we see is not the reality that we want. It's because what? Because our own inner hologram, the lens is not clear. The projector is not projecting what we want to project. So like you said, the Sasquatch are reminding us we have to start healing our own hearts inside, right? And it's time to start healing, like they said, right? And that's what they're teaching you, to let us know that they want us to come and meet them, right? To come and sit with them. And this is the question I was going to ask you, Brian, is that, have you had a moment, a time, and space that they've shared with you that one day we'll have a circle of us and you together in the forest? What I meant by that is that it's not just Arrie, the clan leader, but other Sasquatch and other humans sitting in a circle, right? And coming together as one people. Do you think that's something that they want to have that? Or have they communicated with you? Something that they perhaps they want to come to one day where people can do that?
I think so. But I mean, we have to get on that on their level of energy or whatever for that to happen.
Okay.
But yes, I do think that.
Okay, so it's something that's it's not too far off, distant future. It's something that because they keep showing themselves to you and all of the people that are with you in the forest. So it seems like they're very keen to really show themselves, but it's like if they want to show 5 or 6 or 10 of them at being 12 to 15 feet tall, that's pretty impressive. You know, it's pretty impressive. If you just see like we have these professional wrestlers here in the modern world, which tend to be very big, very muscular, but nothing compared to Sasquatch.
No.
I mean so basically they're trying to prepare us to not to be fearful, to see someone who has a different look, a different size, not to be fearful to be stepped or squashed by such a big size, because it's one thing to know about, it's nothing to experience a 15-foot tall, 2,100-pound Sasquatch. What'd you say?
It'd be something shocking. How do you say it? It'd be
No, what I'm saying is that perhaps I understand what the Sasquatch don't fully manifest as a group. For example, if you and I and 3 other people say, okay, we're ready to see the clan of Sasquatch manifest in a circle, like 5 humans with 6 Sasquatch in a circle.
Right.
It seems to me that they can't do it, but they won't do it because perhaps we're at a stage that our fear are still within our subconscious mind. Seeing someone 15 feet tall, 1,200 pounds, it's like it creates that reptilian brain. It's like, okay, well, you know, so it seems that we're not ready yet to face them full on as a clan, right? And so perhaps that's what I'm saying. We need to do more of the inner work before we get to that stage. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, where I feel right now is, I mean, like I was just out camping just last Friday, and you know, I feel like I'm at the stage right now where I could have them walk right up to me and sit right down, and I would be fine, because there's such a trust and a love between us that all that fear is gone now. It's you know, I can trust them. So, but yeah, but for most people it would be pretty shocking, absolutely, and they wouldn't be ready for it. But that's a process, you know. It takes time, right? Yeah. And the circle is a really, really important symbol to them. I mean, the circle is all about connection, right? Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Oh, that's a beautiful picture. You know, the crime of humans, I think the biggest crime that we humans do is, you know how like you know, we always put up boxes of exclusion. That's not our true nature. You know, we put up boxes of exclusion based on religion, race, pretty well everything, you know. And I think that the biggest crime to me, and I think that the reason why they want to raise our vibrations And so that we're in that state of no judgment. This is how I visualize it, is because you know how when a child is born, they're innocent, right? They don't judge. They don't have any fear at all. Maybe the fear of being dropped, I heard, or whatever, but they don't look at somebody as black and white and yellow and green or purple or whatever. And they're pure. But then we go about instantly like trying to program that out of them by putting up, well, you don't want to like this because of this, and you can't do this, and you don't want to like this guy, and we don't trust him, and that religion is wrong, and they're bad. And it's just like tearing down that purity and that innocence in them. So I think that when enough of us are in that vibration of no judgment, and we start teaching our children that, then in a few generations or whatever, oh boy, I'm getting the tingles again. In a few generations or whatever, it can actually, that could be what the new world and the conscious ship people are talking about. Because we can't be programming that out of our kids. They come into the world with that perfect love and understanding, and then we dismantle it. That's a crime. That's a crime. You're muted again.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to share with you saying that.
You hear me?
Yeah, is it possible to say that being the first generation of experiencers who want to have that heart-based connection, but in that inner circle that I just shared with you, that image, can be a reality only for a small group of people that are ready for that. So when you talk about a global awakening, that will probably take maybe one generation. I mean, it won't take that long. I mean, honestly, now with the internet, we can share more information and we can accelerate much more faster than we ever did before on the planet. But what I'm trying to say is that the inner circle experience, is that something you feel we can accomplish?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if we set the intention, said there's Sasquatch, we have 5 of us or 6 of us that are, I think we're ready to experience that. And we're willing to have this experience with you. Were you willing to have this with your clan? Do you think that can be a possibility?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. And also think about look at a child and look who and you know and teach more of the connected way or whatever. That child is going to be completely different than some kid who is you know, brought up in the old traditional way of you know, and so I think that like I said, I think when enough people do that, it's gonna switch. That's gonna be the change.
Yeah, because now we understand that the morphogenetic field, when only according to research saying if 1% of the population actually experience something profoundly, then this has been downloaded or uploaded to the morphogenetic field, and everybody gets it simultaneously. So everybody wakes up simultaneously. So we don't need a large amount of people to be proactively experiencing these wonderful moments. So if only a few people are engaged in this, and like you said, have the visual experience and they can feel that and see it, then they can really admit this and share this with their friends. And because you know when you share a story, and if it's a truthful story, you can feel that pureness behind the story. It has a signature behind, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can feel that, right?
Yes.
So and that's why when you have a visual experience, it's so helpful. I think that's what the Sasquatch are doing, are trying to have us to see them. So we'll never forget that, because we're visual beings and we feel also. So the visual, the feeling, it's such a fantastic way for us to share our stories with others. And so then they can come to the forest also. This will bring more people to the forest from the cities, right, to experience that, you know? So that's a beautiful way of doing it, right?
Well, people who do get feel that and live that experience, or however you would say it, they connect with other people, and like you said, people pick up on that. people do pick up on it.
And then people want to taste what you've experienced because,
Exactly,
whoa, it's very interesting. It's very, how should I say, it's something new. It's something refreshing. It's something that it's totally outside the box. It's not a school system. It's not society. It's not about competition or business. It's just, it's free. You walk in the woods, you sit there, you set your intentions, you know, and you co-create an environment where, you know, you're being greeted with loving, you know, caring elementals and wonderful creatures in the forest. And, you know, like you said, it's something that we as modern humans have forgotten, you know, because we're too busy in paying our bills and do things. And so basically we're distracted, continually being distracted, right? So, and we know this. I think now we finally realize that we know we don't need a big car, a big house, and we don't need much to be happy, right? So I think we finally understand that. And
No.
and
No,
I think
that when you vibrate to that high level of understanding, you don't need any of that material stuff. You just need the basic food, water, and maybe some shelter. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what's a nice way to actually move to, I'd like to share with the audience some of the glyphs that you shared on your own YouTube channel, which I took. I did a screenshot of some of them. And I'd like to go through some of them. If you can share with us the explanation with some of the screenshots of the glyphs that you took on your YouTube channel, which you want to do that. I'm going to share some of it and just share with us what those glyphs mean with the audience.
You know, I warn you, I don't know the meaning of all of them. If they're not for me, I won't be able to tell you what they mean. But
I understand.
You got,
I put the ones that I found interesting, so you can bring to the listeners some of your experiences. So yeah, so this is the first one that I took from your YouTube channel. I
don't call that one a glyph. That's more like a little structure or something.
Okay.
That's just stuff that they build, and I think that, to me, they do a lot of these in and around campgrounds, and okay. I think it's like an introduction to people like who will notice, you know, like because they love the high energy of kids. They like the energy of singing and laughing, and you know, and there's a lot of that going around innocence around campgrounds or whatever. And I think it's a non-threatening way that they can say with these structures and whatever, like, "Hi, we're here. Can you see us?"
Okay.
It's, you know what I mean?
So it's almost like a playful way of introducing themselves.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's not a glyph. That's not a glyph. That's a
okay. Okay. I'm going to show the next one here. Okay. Here it comes.
I mean, they will even imitate what they see people doing.
Okay.
You know, like for instance, I've seen these little fire pits that they do that simulate fire. Now, I'm going to get into what this one means. I do know what this one means, but for instance, you know, like it's an introduction, but they also imitate what they see us doing. For instance, they do these little fire pits with these round stones, and sometimes they even put little peel sticks in them to simulate fire. Right now, I was way out in the bush one time, or not one time. This is an area that I go to a lot. Sue and I, my girlfriend, and other people I'm close to, and you'll be there one day.
Mm-hmm.
But and like I said, they imitate people. So there was this fire pit on the trail, just off the trail, like I said, with the round stones and all the little peel sticks and whatever. And when you looked at it and looked over to where I was camping, it was a clear, direct view to where I would always have my fire and where I was camping. Mm-hmm. So that was a big answer there, right? So they're imitating too. Okay, so this one, can you see the A there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's A. That's the clan of Arrie, and then there's an X in it too. That's welcome friendship from the clan of Arrie, because X is welcome friendship for me.
Okay, that's interesting. Wow. So it's a lot in this. What seems to be simple sticks have a lot of different meaning.
That's one of their structures or whatever that they that they do.
Okay, so this is just it's just showing there's an intelligence behind this, basically showing.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, it's, I know that they imitate what they see us doing, and they'll also draw what they see us doing. I've got an absolute beautiful story about that, and I wish, boy, it'd be a big coincidence if he actually had that glyph come up. But yeah, this one, you know, like some of these are not big enough for them to actually get into. I think it's just, yeah, like I said, an introduction, or it's just imitating what they see us doing.
And this one here is this.
That's Roger Say's H.
Okay. So this is the H, right? Okay.
Yep.
So the meaning behind the H is just, is this a person?
That's Roger Say's, the female that I was first connected to. That's her signature.
So that's the signature of the female Sasquatch that you first met, right?
Right, but you know what? They have the same kind of stuff all over the world. I mean, because in 2012, when I started sharing my pictures of glyphs, like, not too many people knew about them. It was just basically the First Nations people and maybe a few others, but it was never talked about. But once I started showing them and introducing them, then all kinds of people started getting glyphs and whatever, and their own relationship through glyphs. But that would not mean Roger Say probably to somebody in Kentucky or Washington State or you know, wherever. It would mean something different.
Okay.
That's personal.
I got this one here. That's actually this is the one that we showed before, the pi symbol.
Yeah.
Loves that.
Yep.
So this is a universal symbol for. So for the Sasquatch, can you tell us what is this? What does it mean for the Sasquatch? This symbol here.
Well, I think it means universal connection.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. That's really nice. It's this one here.
Oh my God! Now this is the story. This is a good story, and this once again talks about how they connect people. Man, you got you picked up some good ones. Okay, so my girlfriend was camping, went camping with some people, and she met this couple for the first time. And actually, they're married now, so it's actually Sean and Lisa Fay from Oregon. But they weren't married at the time; they were just dating. And you know, they were all interested in Sasquatch, so they're discussing them and whatever. And Lisa showed Sue this picture on the far right, right? I'm sorry, the far left. The one on the far left. And she said, you know, I don't, and she had really was just beginning her, yeah, exactly. She was just beginning her relationship with Sasquatch. She didn't really even know what they were or what they meant. Well, definitely not what they meant, but she didn't even know what they really were. But she knew there was something to it. She knew it wasn't just random. So she showed Sue that picture on the left, and Sue said, "Hey, why don't you I show my boyfriend? He knows quite a bit about glyphs. Maybe he can help you with it or whatever." So Sue sent me that picture, and the very next day, once again, like, they will lead you places. They will give you an energy impression that you have to go here. So they took me to this place the very next day, and I just got out of the car and walked, you know, maybe 100 yards or whatever, and I saw the glyph in the middle. Yeah. Now, I had never, you know, I've seen thousands, tens of thousands of glyphs, but I had never seen one at that point that I can recall, or at least consciously registered, that looked quite like that. But as soon as I seen that one in the middle, you can see it's the same as the other one, right?
Yeah.
It was like, wow. You know, it was just, I knew exactly what was going on. I said, you know, they showed me that because of that picture on the left. So it definitely clicked in, and I knew that, and I was excited. So when I showed Lisa, she was instantly connected in. She knew, oh, it's all real. It's all, it's true, because she could see, you know, like, she had shown me that, and then I got the exact same one the next day, and I had never actually seen that before. So it was like they showed me the one in the middle so that Lisa would know. so that would connect her in, and her journey has, you know, gone on from there.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you know, that's how they set that up and connected us, and very, very profound. So, oh no.
Oh, sorry.
No. This is the best part of that story is coming up.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So then she knew at that point. So then a year or so later, Sue and I went to Lisa's place in Oregon, and she in a very rural setting, and she used to go up in the woods and whatever and have her own little experiences. And they were already at that point leaving her glyphs. They were leaving them in her yard and doing all kinds of stuff with glyphs with her at that point. So she suggested that we walk through this little wooded area just on the other side of her yard and go up into the woods. So we're walking along the path, and right in the dead center of the path, we saw the third picture, the one on the far right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And look how beautifully, you know, it's peeled. It just stands out. It just stood out beautifully. But look at it. It's exactly the same as the other two, with one big difference. There's Arrie's signature in there. You see that? See the A?
The A in this location here?
The A, yeah. The A right. Oh, I'm trying to point it.
Here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then there's also, and not only the A, but there's also the friendship welcome thing. There's also an X in there. So you have to look at it kind of abstractly. But anyway, okay. So it was the exact same one as the other two, but it had the A signature. And basically it was just saying, yes, that was us. We connected you. We set this up. This is the confirmation.
Well, amazing.
Now, is that beautiful or what?
It is. It is. And that's one thing that the modern humans will look at this and say, oh, well, this looks so primitive. They use sticks. Why can't you use crystals instead, or whatever it is? But I think the Sasquatch are using what's available in nature, right? And using things the tools that are really available in nature. So they don't dig up minerals or try to make something fancy. They just use what's already in nature. So,
but the thing is it's a written communication too. I don't know how you could get that with crystals.
Yeah,
you're actually writing. There's a meaning to it, right?
But you understand what I'm saying is because now the modern humans, you know, we have fashion, we have this crystal wands, and they say, well, you know, if they have crystal, why don't they manifest crystals and make a beautiful crystal patterns in woods? And well, they can, but I think they don't want to do it because they want to. My feeling is they want to use whatever is already available in nature to teach us that you don't need a fancy crystal or a fancy gadget to transmit something. You can use simple pieces of wood, but the fact that you create a glyph or a symbol, but you put the genetic signature into that glyph or symbol, that can be transmitted as a form of communication for anyone that comes into that path. So. Yeah. We have to get away of that fancy high-end technology in order to be effective at communicating. It doesn't work like that.
Simple and organic, yeah, is what you're saying.
So the organic world is I think more simple, but yet more powerful because it's not just the symbol, but it's the initial, you know, imprint behind that symbol, right? So it's gorgeous. It's really nice.
Did you happen to get did you download the pictures of the 3 gift rocks that I got?
No. I just.
No, that's an incredible story. Those gift rocks. That's a crazy cool story. That's once again very similar. That's a universal asterisk, I think.
Okay.
And they do huge ones. I've seen huge ones like 20, 30 feet tall that they've woven into trees and stuff.
Well.
Or taller than 30 or 40 feet, like gigantic.
So, and you'd like to share with us the message of this glyph here?
Well, universal connection.
Universal connection. That's the wow.
Geez, I sure wish I had got those rocks. But let me tell you the story anyway.
Sure.
But darn it, if you could see them, it would mean so much more.
Well, there's a one here that I like to show you before you come to that.
Okay.
This is called the Circle by Sasquatch. That means to come together.
Yeah, circle of connection. And this was way in the push went to the, it was not like easily accessible. And
So
actually,
this,
actually Randy, he brought us here because he was pulled to this place. Like sometimes I'm pulled to places. On this occasion, he just knew we had to go here, and then we like, it was treacherous trying to get there. And but you know, we did go there, and then they had this waiting for us.
yeah, it's just, you know, there are big lessons for us to learn, because again, from the modern perspective of humans, this may look very primitive, right? Very indigenous, very primitive, not sophisticated. Like we have art paintings in Europe, or Da Vinci type of paintings, you know, or modern art. And we look at this, well, what's so unique about this? But the thing is that if a being that's so organically evolved as Sasquatch that can teleport, dematerialize at any time, space, location on Earth, why do you think they would want to do something like this, right? The thing is I think my understanding is that it to simplify the level of communication, right? So you get the energy signature out of that imprint, right? So I think the energy signature is more important than the sophistication of the symbol.
Yes.
But just that what I'm saying, because any modern human will look at this interview and say, well, what's so special about this? Well, the thing is, if you just look at it as first of all, as a symbol, but is the energy signature behind that, if you're sensitive enough, if you have a heart space, you know what that means, right? Yeah. So it's an organic technology. Again, we're so accustomed to the synthetic technology, we can't even comprehend simple organic communication, right? So, and once again, no human can dematerialize or teleport themselves, but Sasquatch can. So perhaps we have something to learn from them, right?
Well, I mean, what you made a very interesting point early on in our interview here is that we all had that ability at one time. We've lost that ability right now, but I guess we are capable of it, and we may get it back again.
But yeah, it's just for the, it seems like it's important to be humble, because I think everything has its place. There's nothing wrong with synthetic technology. It's nothing wrong, because we're using Zoom technology not to share this interview now. There's nothing wrong with any of it, I think. But to actually call this primitive art or primitive, or it's nothing compared to our modern human arts, or like Da Vinci, whatever. That's not the point.
It's way more evolved than that in a way.
Well, but the point, but that's what I'm trying to convey is that we have to look at from a perspective of being humble, saying, well, that's the way they like to communicate. It doesn't make it more primitive or less primitive than Da Vinci or whatever, you know. So, but if Da Vinci had a paintbrush as sticks, maybe Da Vinci would create that type of art in the woods, if that's all he had, right?
Yeah.
But Da Vinci had paper, had paintbrush, but the Sasquatch don't have a paintbrush, don't have paper. That's all they have. So they use what they have to communicate to us, right? So, and if you can understand that, you can appreciate the level of sophistication behind the symbol and the energy imprint behind that, right? So, because we know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and the Sasquatch know about this, and I think they do a very good job to share this with us. It's amazing.
Okay, so I've got an idea with the rocks that what we can do. You're obviously going to post this video, so I can post a picture of the rocks underneath the video in the comments afterwards, and then people will understand what I'm talking about, because I do want to kind of share this story because it's very important.
Okay.
It's very beautiful. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is there? Sure. Go ahead. Yeah, we can share. But you know, you can share with the. You know the share aspect below. You can. Do you have a picture you want to share with us?
Do I have one?
Yeah. Do you want to share? Is that the picture?
I don't know how to do it. How do you do it?
Okay, gotcha. Well, just below you see there's a. It says share, the little box below your screen. If you put your cursor.
Share screen? No.
No, you see the mute. You see stop video.
Yeah.
Okay, you keep going. You see invite, manage participants, and you see share.
I see share screen.
Yeah, that's it. You just click on that, then it goes onto your computer screen, and then you pull the file from your screen. We all can see it.
Oh, okay. Well, so.
Well, make sure that you got your picture on your desktop computer first. It'll be a lot easier for you to.
You know, I am horrible. Oh, wait a minute, files maybe? Do I go to
No,
files?
yeah, but just bring the picture on your desktop. Whatever file you have, just drag it on your computer main screen.
Yeah, you know what? I'm useless at this. I think.
It's okay. You can share the story with us, and you can imagine. You can show us as much as you can the circle
Just
and
try to imagine what I'm saying, and then when
sure.
people do this
Exactly.
in the thing, then
No problem.
I will post the pictures and comments,
No problem. Great.
and then
Go
people
ahead.
can refer back to them. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Go ahead.
Because I
No worries. It's okay. So you were to share with us your experience.
this would be a really boring interview if I start trying to do that, because I'm.
It's okay. Just go ahead. Share with us. That'd be nice.
Okay, so people are gonna look at these pictures, you know, as I'm describing them, you know, after the fact, obviously, after the video is out. But so I went to a special place by a river, and I saw a rock that was placed on top of a big stump, and I knew it was for me. I knew the rock was for me, and the rock was. It looked like a regular river rock, color-wise, like light gray with some little flecks on it. You know what a river rocks look like. It was very light, and like I said, I've got pictures of all the different steps and parts of the story. So I knew it was for me, and I took it home, and it also looks like it also looked like the shape of a Sasquatch. I mean, to me, it's like a profile of a Sasquatch. I could see the head. I could see the kind of facing this way. I could see the head, shoulders, torso, legs. It's just the skull. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you'll see what I'm talking about when you see it. But it was a gray color. So I took it home, and the very next day it turned completely black, like a solid black. It transformed from a regular river rock, which was the color of all the rocks along the river there, to solid black, which I don't think is possible. I don't know how that could happen, but more magic. But anyway, and then it even looked more like a Sasquatch. I mean, it's amazing. And when people see them all three together, they can see that they're a little family too. You just can sense it, and they all got similarities, whatever, that are very obvious when you look at them. So anyway, this rock went from a regular river rock to completely black the next day. And I mean, it was like, that rock means so much to me. I know it's not about material things or whatever, but it's special. I love that rock. I would be devastated if any of them disappeared. Oh, you know what? Well, I've got them here, but it probably wouldn't show up that good, would it? Or would it? Should I get them? Just give me a second. Okay, I'm back. I'm back.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, so there's the river rock that turned completely black the next day.
Okay, we have to explain to the listener that a river rock is usually grayish white, right?
Right.
Okay, and that's not normal to see a river rock in this color. So the audience they have to understand that a river rock is usually grayish white, and it turned black.
Very next day.
Okay, so can you share with us what you think happened to that rock?
Well, maybe it'll become more clear as the story goes on. Well, I mean, showing us that they are capable of anything. I mean, I don't even think this is the same kind of rock. But anyway, when I post the pictures, you'll be able to see much better what they look like.
So basically, they've actually either transmuted the molecular structure of the rock into another vibration or other frequency, and they change it to. So it's very fascinating that So basically, it's just.
I guess, yeah. I guess. I mean, I'm not a science-minded kind of guy. Science is not my forte. I don't know exactly.
No. What I'm just trying to say is that they, with their natural organic abilities, they're able to transduce the molecular structure of that rock and turn it from the typical gray rock to black. So it's easy for them to do that, right? So it's like for us taking a pencil and penciling a white page with black color, right? So
right.
They can use their mind to. So it's amazing that you had that experience.
Yeah. So. And I got one rock a year for the period of 3 years. So I had this rock, and I went on a solo overnight sleepover to a really, really special place. And it was also kind of, at this point, I was still, you know, there was always, I wouldn't say I was afraid, but I wasn't quite as comfortable. You know, it's completely dark out, you know, they're around. There's that little bit of nervous energy, even though there was trust. So I wouldn't say I was afraid, but it was showing courage and whatever, which they liked. They liked the fact that I went out there and slept right amongst them all by myself, you know, and with trust. So anyway, so in the middle of the night, I'm holding this rock up, and I'm saying, guys, you do not know what this means to me. I just love it. It is so special. I can't express my gratitude to you enough. And I'm talking to them, and I could feel their energy around me and whatever. And the very next day, I got up, packed up, and I started heading out. And I'm on the very same path that I saw the Sasquatch fully materialize from nothing to, and I'm walking back to the car. And I had just hit the path. This is the very next morning after thanking them for the rock or whatever, and I heard a whoop, like a really loud whoop. And I looked right below my feet. Like as soon as I heard it, right directly below my feet was this guy.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was already black. So maybe that was something because of the connection with it. So, and this guy's, yeah, it's hard to see. You'll see it like I said. Yeah, beautiful. Look at it when it's. So
it's not a charcoal based type. It's very. When
I have the pictures up, but I saw this guy, and to me it looks like an old guy or a Sasquatch face. I know, probably hard to see here, but anyway. So I had the two of them, and I knew instantly that they were connected, right? And you can even see that the angle. See the angle of them? Yes. It goes down, and down.
Yes.
And so anyway, you can obviously see that they're connected. So as soon as I picked that rock up, I got mind speak. This was not thought placement. This was mind speak. And it said, "You're getting a third."
Wow.
You're getting a third. So this also ties Lisa Fay into it too. The lady who showed me the glyph, and then she got her eureka moment when I saw the same one, and that story I just told. So about a year later, I'm at a gathering in southern Washington State, and we're all, you know, all these people are very spiritual, and we're talking about Sasquatch and stuff and whatever. And Lisa Fay saw this amazing glyph, actually, that she came back and she had gone out and went for a hike, and the glyph represented the meeting. They did a picture of our meeting. It was almost like the floor plan of the guy's house that we were staying at. So they were acknowledging the importance of the meeting, at least, maybe not on a world, you know, not on a big universal scale, but for us, you know, and so they acknowledged it with a glyph as well. But then later in the day, and Sue and I had just came back from this place. Across the street, there was a little river across the street from this guy's place where you could go and sit. And when she was there, she found a rock that was just sitting up on top of a big boulder. And she picked it up, and she got mind speak right away, and it said, "This is for Brian," okay? And it was this little guy, and they're all, and see, once again, it's got the angle, you see? They're all got that angle. You see them all together, and I can't really put them on the screen together, but it's just so obvious that they're a family, right? And they're all exactly the same color. They're all the exact same kind of rocks. 2 were found in British Columbia. 1 was found in Washington, the last one. So it said, this is for Brian. And she gave me the rock. And of course, I knew, well, okay, this is my 3rd rock. Here it is. And my girlfriend, Sue, she was looking at the rock. She's looking at it and looking it over. And she said, Brian, your name is written on the bottom of this rock. And I don't know. I was talking to I was, for some reason, I didn't really pay that much attention to it at the time. I'm not sure why. I didn't really even look, I don't think. Man, they sure look good together. I got to tell you, yeah, it's so obvious they're a family. So, but she said, your name is on the bottom of this rock. And I didn't really, whatever, I didn't acknowledge it that night. But about a month or so later, we're driving down the road and Sue's driving, and this is in Oregon, and I'm looking at the rock. I'm just going like this and twisting it around or whatever. And all of a sudden, what the heck? I saw my name, B-R-I-A-N, etched in the bottom of the rock. And it's pretty obvious. I've shown it to a lot of people. Everybody pretty well can see it. I'd say probably 95% of the people can.
So you think we can see it on the camera? If you can show us, do you think we're able to see it? And
you know, my name was bottom of this rock, like Brian, and it was not like scratched in, like they had just scratched it in. It looked like it was in there for like, you know, thousands of years. I don't know. It looked like it had been there forever.
So Brian, can you show us? Can you show us on the camera? You think we can see it?
You'll see it for sure when I show you the pictures.
Yeah, but
probably not.
No, just back away slowly, back away. Yeah, okay. No worries, no problem. But that's amazing. Wow.
You can't see it, right?
No.
But you can't see the writing on it, can you?
No. Well, if you back up a little bit slowly, keep backing up slowly.
Can you see the writing? I don't think so.
Yeah, we see something, but we can't really make what's out. But that's amazing. Wow. Wow.
What, like a rock?
Oh. Well, there's so much in nature, right? Of branches and rocks.
The 3rd rock, I've got a picture of my name on the bottom of the 3rd rock, and I got a picture of them all 3 together. So, so you know, it was the 3rd rock. You know, like that's like a hammer over the head. It was not, didn't leave much to the imagination. So.
It's really amazing.
And don't worry, guys. You'll see it. I'll post them. So
that's great, amazing. Well, they actually are known also to be they're good at hide and seek, right? They're experts. They're champions. Would you say that? That they're if you want to play, they're the champion. You know, I mean, no one can beat.
They're the world champions. They're the world champions, man.
Yeah. No one can beat that sport for sure.
Well, I mean, hey, if we could go invisible and cloak and do all the things that they do, or transport us off from here, there, or anywhere, just with thought, I mean, you know, you wouldn't see us if we didn't want you to either.
Exactly. I think they want us to reach that state of evolution where I think eventually there'll be, I think maybe they'll be transmitting you information, understanding how we can actually do that. Yeah, I mean, it's something that humanity can do if they really go inside themselves, inside their heart. And it's basically work on the inner organic technology.
Yeah.
Right? Spend time.
I used to carry these rocks around with me, but now I just get too, like, I'm not, you know, they taught me not to be material and whatever. And like you said, you don't need all the stuff that captures our imagination or whatever. But I got to admit, I would be devastated if I lost any of these rocks. So I find that when I've got them with me now, I'm constantly checking my pockets. And if for some reason I think it's not there for a split second, it's just like, it's like a deep panic. So I don't really carry them with me too much unless I want to show people, unless I'm going to a presentation or something. But
it's very unique. I mean, it's very unique to show to, and I think also the key thing is gentleness, right? So I mean, Sasquatch are very gentle, very caring people, and they love nature. And if they were a fire, as you can see in this image, they will help the little animals in the forest to a place that's safer from the fires, right? So you can see they're very loving beings. But we don't hear this in the news, right? They do all these wonderful deeds, help other animals, you know, and they're just amazing, right? So it behooves us that there's so much that we have to learn, and that would be nice if you spend some time with them.
And plus, plus they can shapeshift into these other animals. I've had a lot of experiences where I know that it was not a regular bird or a deer or owl.
And you said also one thing important is respect for all life, right? So it can be like this little guy here who is not human, who is not Sasquatch, but the Sasquatch would actually respect them, right? So regardless of the size or shape or form, the key word is respect, right? Respect for all life, right? That look different from us. So that's what they keep sharing with us all the time, right? To have that. So it's wonderful that we have this opportunity to have the forest, right?
They don't see, like, you know, they don't put up the boxes of difference that we do, you know, like, or whatever. They're way more involved in that understanding.
Yeah, they would say, hey, little guy, what do you have to teach us? You know, we're much taller and bigger than you are. Well, you know, it's just, everyone has something to teach everyone else, right? So it's beautiful to see that it's coming to that point. We're getting there slowly and slowly, but at the end, you know, it's just, we need to stay calm, right? And whatever's happening, and go inside our hearts, right? And there's so much going on right now, and there's a lot of distraction. And I think the forest is a good way for us to get grounded, right? So, I mean, for city people, because sometimes we can get confused, and we don't know where we go. And I think if you go in the forest, like you said, the Sasquatch can become your mentor. They can help you or teach you to develop your own inner skills. And I think they're fantastic mentors, would you say? I mean, to help you.
Yes, I would say that.
You know, and it's just like, and why the forest? Because the forest does this to you. It's just like I share with you, this is so important. We need to understand that the forest is a wonderful place to find a better connection with creation.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, if you don't have a car, we can ask someone else to, or we can use a bus, have someone else, a car share, carpool. But they come together in nature and have these little meetings, you know, it doesn't cost a lot, you know, and you get more out of it, you know, by feeling and having those wonderful experiences that you had, the glyphs, the rocks, the manifestation, demanifestation of their presence, having them show themselves to you, having them feel, and it's just, what else can you ask? You know, it's like, I feel that we're so disconnected in the modern world, even though we have all the fancy technology, but we don't have that organic connection. We have the synthetic screen connection, but we don't have the energetic connection to heart feel connection, right? And that's what's lacking right now. And
no, they are teaching us the way that they're showing us the way that we have to transcend or have that conscious shift. It's all about
yeah, and they would always say, I mean, I'm sure that this is an advice that the Sasquatch would want to be ourselves, right? Embrace the mystery, spend time in the woods, be gentle on the earth, and live a wonderful life, right? It's but the fact that they're there and they can show themselves to you, it's no more science. It's not science fiction anymore. This is reality, and people like yourself are showing this to us, that you had this experience. Anybody can have an experience if they have come from a good heart space intention. And you sharing your story with all of us is very inviting for modern humans to go and experience that, right?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you how, you know, like, there's been a few times, and I don't know where it went, but they are constantly introducing me to people, and then they have the opportunity to take it where they want to take it. But you know, like, I've been called into the woods, and then there's somebody there that they want me to talk to. There was one guy. Now, this is an interesting story. There was one guy. It was my birthday, and I just had that feeling. I just knew they were calling me there. I had to go there, and I went there, and there was a movie being filmed, right? So they had a guard at the gate of the entranceway, which would normally not be. There would be nobody there, but because you know, they have hours of operation, and they close. You know, you can't get in. So when they have the guard there or whatever, he's the people from the movie in and out, right?
Yeah.
So I was called to the woods that night, and I saw this guy there. I had my drum, and I wanted to go and just walk around and drum and connect and feel, just be out there and feel them. And this fella's there, and I started talking to him, and he seemed really open and a good guy and whatever. And I started talking about connection and stuff a little bit, and he really open to it. So I started telling him about the Sasquatch, and he had never really he had heard the name Bigfoot before. It was like a Russian descent or something like that. He had heard the name Bigfoot, but he didn't know what a Sasquatch was. He really didn't have any idea what they were all about or whatever, but he had a good heart. So they brought me to him, and I started talking about Sasquatch or whatever with him, and I described what they were. He said, "Oh man, I just heard about a half an hour before you came here, I heard walking around on two legs in the bush, crashing around." Okay. And then he said he saw like a strange light walking or something moving in the bush too. So they actually showed themselves to him in a way, or he heard them. And that was absolutely incredible. And then when we're talking, I'm getting, like, as I'm talking to people, like I said, if they getting this confirmation energy that they want me to talk to this person, that they're happy that I'm communicating. Arrie's not that good, but as we're talking.
Yeah, just let you know, Brian, the screen freezes every few seconds, so we're getting.
Here's something walking around us. He can actually hear them as I'm talking.
Yeah.
And then when I left, I said, you know, they want to. They're open to have a connection with you, so just be open to it and think about it, and maybe say, hey, are we okay?
Yeah, I guess we're actually losing connection every few seconds. You freeze. So yeah, the signal is not very strong.
What part of my story did you not on?
Well, we understand that you had a friend, you met a guy who was Russian descent, and this Russian guy had an experience with a Sasquatch where he saw some light in the forest, and he heard some.
Would it be good if should we try to reboot it and take a quick break?
No, it's okay. Because I was going to end the interview very shortly. Because I think we've been at it for 2.5 hours, so I think it'll be a good time for we end this first interview.
So anyway, yeah, so he heard them walking around in the bush, and then he could hear them as I'm talking to him, and as I was getting that amazing energy. And so I said, well, there we are. So I said, just be open to it and say, I'd like to meet you, and whatever, and see what happens. So I went back the very next day, and he said that all night after I left, because he's sitting in his car by the gate, he said there was something in his car with him that had a strong floral perfume. Raja say that was her scent, and he said he had a feeling of absolute peace and connection and just bliss, just a beautiful overall feeling the whole night. And he said even when he left, it was with him. So that was his that's his opportunity to see where he will take it. But they introduced themselves to him, so now it's up to him. And they brought me there to talk to him, and that's happened a number of times. I had it another guy, I'm talking to him, and I'm getting the energy and whatever, and then he suddenly got around and he heard something stomping around in the bush.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's just, yeah, and I think it's important to know that also for modern humans that if you go to Sasquatch in the forest and you make contact with them, they can actually manifest in your apartment in the cities. So they're not restricted by the forest. If you're living in a city and if you go to the woods, you make contact with them, and you go back to your apartment, to your condo, whatever, they still can make contact in your apartment or your condo in the city. So ladies and gentlemen, in the cities, don't feel that you're restricted because you cannot go to the forest every single time or every single week of the month.
You're breaking up a lot.
Yeah, I know. But it's actually recording here from my end.
Our connection is really bad.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just going to say, perfect. We're going to end this first interview, Brian. It's just breaking up. We're breaking up every few seconds. So we're just going to end the interview. So Brian, I'm going to say thank you for being with us for the first interview. And we'll speak in the next few months for your second interview. And or maybe perhaps after September, when you have your first annual. I was going to share with the audience also your first annual camp out with Sasquatch here on your Facebook page. So people can go to this first annual.
There's Arrie right there. Can you see him?
Yeah.
He's right in the center there. The full figure. He's like he's more cloaked than he was when I seen him in that stage just before he was fully materialized. But you know, if you look at the Patterson film,
yes,
he's got a big nose, right?
Okay.
You can see his big. There's his. I'm pointing to him, and you can't see what I'm doing, but right in the dead center, you can see his head, and you can see the big white nose even.
Yeah, I wish I can zoom here. So yeah, it's.
He's standing right there. And the thing is I asked him to come and visit me, and I felt his energy, and then he did. So, yeah. I think you're muted again.
Yeah, so basically I just shared the screen here for your Facebook page. Let me just show you here once again.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything you said.
Yeah, okay.
Again,
Okay, so once again, this is Brian's Facebook page here. So please go to first annual Arrie and Family Campout and send an invitation to, or ask an invitation for Brian. And if you have any questions.
That's actually not my homepage.
No, which one is your homepage?
Just Brian Bland.
Okay.
That's got way more stuff on it than this.
Okay, great. Okay. So Brian Bland, okay, BLAND, and you can have more information too. But it's just showing that the first annual camp out this September 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your chance. Anyone that lives in British Columbia or outside Canada, you're more than welcome to get in touch with Brian. And it's a free for all of us. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get together. So I'd like to thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your stories. And there's a lot more you want to share. So in the second interview, perhaps after September, the first camp out, we can share more of our stories.
Yeah, I didn't even scratch the surface of it.
That's great. So ladies and gentlemen, there's more stories to come. So please stay tuned with Brian. He has a lot more stories, a lot more things that we can learn from Brian and Arrie. And so once again, Brian, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. And we'll see you the next time.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I want you to stay on, and I want to share these pictures.
Perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna end, and I'll be back with you. Okay, thank you, Brian. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
No problem.